The home of the Canaries.
BBC Radio Norfolk.
Welcome back to Carrow Road. We're just 7 days away from the kick-off of a brand new season for Norwich City. Plenty of new faces will be on show. Optimism is not as high as it has been in previous seasons, but the Canaries are unbeaten so far this summer, and the preparations continue today with a visit of the Greek Europa League side Olympiacos. We've got full live commentary coming up, and it's good to be home. Let's say hello to our team today. We've got the one and only Chris Gore, and of course we've got Adrian Coote as well. We'll speak to Cootie in just a moment. But Chris, team news not so important today, but it does give people a good indication of how the season's looking for next Saturday in terms of Hull City coming here in the Championship.
Yes, I think good afternoon everyone from Carrow Road in the bright sunshine, proper pre-season weather. I think for much of pre-season you don't read too much into the starting lineups because it's all about getting minutes in the legs and giving players an opportunity to impress, but I think this one is a bit different. I think when there's just 7 days to go before the start of the new season, it's the last friendly, you then can look at the starting 11 and the lineup and begin to gather a few clues from it. And you look at this starting lineup today that David Wagner has named, and it looks like a Championship starting 11. It looks like the sort of team that you would pick today if this was a Championship game. I'll give it to you, and then we'll talk about the subs and whatever other sort of issues come from it. But Angus Gunn is the goalkeeper, so if there was an argument between Gunn and Krul for that number one position, Gunn remains the number one by the looks of it, as he was at the end of last season. New signing Jack Stacey is the right back. It's Shane Duffy and Ben Gibson in the centre of defence, with Dimitris Giannoulis playing in the left back position. Gabriel Sarah and Kenny McLean had a promising midfield partnership during last season, and they are back together again, with McLean missing quite a lot of the end of last season through injury. Christian Fasnacht starts on the right hand side, Onel Hernandez on the left, and then Josh Sargent and Ashley Barnes completing the starting lineup. It'll be interesting to see whether it is a front two, a sort of 4-4-2 formation, or whether Sargent is asked to drop behind Barnes as he did so often with Temu Pukki last season. The subs for Norwich: Krul, Omobamidele, McCallum, Fisher, this young signing from Bromley who's impressed in pre-season, Liam Gibbs, Springett, Pochetta, Nunez, Ida and Rowe. So that is the starting lineup that David Wagner has gone with today, and the substitutes. In terms of absentees that might get people talking, I noticed there's no place for Christos Jolis, and again we don't know whether that's an injury, but he's a player who you thought might get a few minutes against Greek opposition, but perhaps more telling than that, there's no Max Aarons and there's no Milot Rashica. Now those are two players who are back training with Norwich City, but who I think everyone around the club and certainly within the club as well, they've made no secret of the fact that should the right offer come in, both of those players are for sale to all intents and purposes. They're allowed to leave, and the fact that they've not featured at all in pre-season and they're not involved in the matchday squad today, I would say putting two and two together would make it unlikely that Aarons and Rashica would be involved in a week's time, because you look at the options that David Wagner has given himself in those areas of the team, and he's got other players now, so perhaps planning for life without those has well and truly got underway, because they're not involved in this final friendly, and I think if you're not involved in the final friendly, you're probably unlikely to be involved in the first game of the season. Yeah, I mean, no surprises with both of those. Rashica's obviously a player that's, I think Galatasaray is still keen to take him, from what we've read, reports suggest. Max Aarons as well, we spoke about it at the end of last season, what a player he's been for Norwich City. No one's going to be upset with him for wanting to better his career, and he's been linked with West Ham. That would be an excellent move, after the season they had last season with a European competition win and what have you. But it's indicative of where Norwich are. They're obviously not bringing those players in for this pre-season friendly because they're worried about perhaps getting them injuries, and they need that money in. And they've already replaced them, haven't they? They've already got the lineups. The players who can come in and take those positions in the squad. So Stuart Webber said over the summer that the feeling was that Max Aarons had done his time, if you like. He deserved a move. It had got to that point where it was probably better for him and better for the club if they did sell him. And soon after that they signed Jack Stacey, who's an experienced right back who plays in exactly the same position. Was pretty obviously the replacement. I think a lot of people expected it to be Stacey and Barley Mumba perhaps competing for the right back position this season. Mumba's since been sold, and Kellen Fisher has emerged over the summer as somebody who was brought in to play with the under-23s but has impressed so much we may well see him in first team action a little quicker than perhaps was first thought. But you've got Stacey, you've got Fisher. If they do sell Max Aarons now, as I think we expect them to at some point over the summer, it's not as if they need to bring in somebody else. They've already got his replacement in, which is sort of the way you want to do it, really, isn't it? So that yes, he's a great player and he'll be missed, but you don't want to be left in a position where he goes at the end of the window, and then you've got to have a square peg in a round hole until the next transfer window opens. So I think that's a move that Norwich are prepared for and will probably let happen as soon as the right offer comes in.
Well, if you just joined us, this is BBC Radio Norfolk. You're listening to live commentary of a pre-season friendly here at Carrow Road. The only pre-season friendly we'll see at home, Norwich City against the Greek side Olympiacos. Kick-off is a traditional 3 o'clock. We'll have full live commentary from them. We're looking out across the pitch here. It absolutely looks perfect out there, like the proverbial snooker table. And a man who commented on that as he walked up to the gantry is the one and only Hemsby hotshot. Adrian Coote is with us today. Cootie, I know we always say that.
Rob, there's been some transfer news over the summer.
Oh, hello.
Hemsby hotshot.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought you were.
He's left.
Have you?
Well,
you packed it in.
It's the big money move. Forget Mbappe.
It's complicated. Veteran
you haven't
football.
taken those Saudi millions, have you?
No, he's got a different sandy place.
There's two veterans leagues, so you technically you can sign for a team in each league because the way that Vets football works is you get one game probably every 3 weeks. And so whilst I've signed for Hemsby, I've also signed for another veterans team, Great Yarmouth Town.
Of course,
a new team. Yeah.
So you're going to play for both?
Yeah, where possible. And I think if there's any...
two teams Cootie.
Yeah. And if there's any... the hope is that they will play their games differing Sundays, if they're playing 1 in 3. But if there's any clashes and the two teams play the same weekend, then my hope is to play for the side.
Just for the record, how many goals did you get last season?
53. But who's counting?
Well, you obviously are. 53 goals, incredible. Anyway, we're not here to talk about how good you still are. We're here to talk about Norwich City, and great discussion there with Chris about the likes of Max Aarons and Milot Rashica, who's possibly going to leave the club. I mean, you've seen the team, Cootie, and I think as someone who obviously played plenty of these pre-seasons, how indicative are they of what we're going to see when the season comes? Because I think Chris is right. I always think as a fan, when you turn up for the final pre-season game of the summer, you think, well, this is the team we're going to see next Saturday at 3 o'clock. Yeah, that's a fair comment?
Yeah, I think so, because even sort of, remembering back to what it was like as a player, you would play in a whole host of different pre-season games, different standards. You'd play nearly all of your squad within one fixture, so you'd put one side out for one half and one side for another half, and things got sort of tinkered around and stuff like that. But I just remember as a player wanting to be in that last home pre-season friendly, because even then I kind of got an understanding of the significance of being in that starting 11, in that squad, as an indicator for what the manager has in mind. He's got a plan of how he wants his team to set up and play, and he'd have been working on that during the pre-season games. But in front of the Carrow Road crowd for the first time this season, a week before our first home game and the season kicks off again, he's going to want to put it all together, so he knows what's worked well, what's not worked well, what's still to be tinkered with, if anything, before we go into that whole game. And so I think this would be a really good indicator of where he's at in terms of what he thinks his strong 11 might be.
And it is quite an attacking lineup from what we've seen. I mean, Christian Fasnacht, obviously the player that most Norwich fans will be really keen to see. The ones who are lucky enough to be in the European games in the week would have seen him, but the majority of Norwich fans wouldn't have seen him in the flesh, and we're going to see that today. He's sort of described as a winger, but from having seen a few of the pictures of the games in midweek, he's one of those kind of wingers that likes to go in the middle, likes to push through, and kind of arrives in the box late to finish things off. So that's quite an exciting one. Lots of Norwich fans saying we needed another option up front. It looks like he could be that option as someone who can kind of overlap.
Yeah. And we know in Championship season gone by, we've heavily relied on Timu Pukki to score goals for us, and he's not here anymore. And so rather than put that sort of emphasis on one person within the squad, Sargent and Barnes, we'd expect them to score goals, but to be successful you need other players from other positions chipping in. Hernandez has always been an exciting player to have, but the one criticism that you could sort of throw his way is that final product, whether it be the cross into the box or his shot on goal. He's capable of scoring goals. We've seen him score big goals for Norwich, so you'd like to see him get a few more goals this season. Obviously the new signing as well, so that we get to sort of share the goals amongst the team and not heavily rely on one player, because in this league that you'll get injuries and whatnot, and so if you have somebody that's scoring all your goals pulled out the side for a few games, then you're going to miss that. But just looking at the lineup and thinking back to 12 months ago, how different it looks in terms of the lineup that we had back then. I know we'd spoken before a couple of successful seasons in the Championship, and the squad looked familiar for both of those, but we seem to have kind of let go the majority of those players now, and so this is a team and a squad that is in complete sort of transition mode, and bringing in new players, wanting to give them competitive minutes together to help prepare for Saturday, where it all kicks off for real.
Yeah, the big one against Hull City this time next week. We'll be here, of course, for live coverage. Every kick of Norwich City's season live here on BBC Radio Norfolk. Chris Gorham, let's talk about Christian Fasnacht, because we're going to hear from the head coach, David Wagner, in just a moment. He knows him very well. They were together, of course, at Young Boys. And I think Norwich fans were quite excited, when they signed this, because we've got to think where Norwich are. Norwich are, let's be honest, a bit of a mid-table championship team now, and that's kind of where they finished last season. So to sign a Swiss international who's got a good pedigree, 29 years old, most would say in the prime of his career, that did turn a few heads amongst Norwich fans, I think.
Well, I think all summer we've wanted to see new signings, haven't we? And I think we, not just at the end of last season, but for the last month, 6 weeks of last season, when it was pretty clear that Norwich's playoff bid had stalled and the wheels had come off quite dramatically, especially when they got those injuries late in the season, all of the talk around the place was of a summer rebuild. And I think you could see that the players knew what was coming as well, because they're, as much as I'm not saying they were unprofessional in the last few games of the season, but they were performances that lacked intensity. It looked like a squad that knew its time as a unit was up. We knew that Pukki was going, and it felt like we were just marking time towards the end of last season. And it was all about what would they do over the summer. And with Pukki gone, there was a lot of eyes on the attack, wasn't there? And Ashley Barnes coming in quite early. And then it was, one of the big problems that Norwich had towards the end of last season was that they just weren't scoring goals, particularly here at Carrow Road. We're sitting here on the gantry at Carrow Road, a familiar position for us, but we haven't seen Norwich City's men's first team score here since February. 25th of February was the last time that Norwich scored a goal at Carrow Road. It was a staggeringly bad end to last season. They didn't score any of their last 5 matches. And yes, okay, you can look at the strikers for that, but it's where else the goals were going to come from and who was going to create the chances. So a lot of excitement when they signed Borja Sainz, as the goalkeepers just jog out onto the pitch for their first look at Carrow Road in the sunshine this season. That's a warm round of applause for them. Borja Sainz, a lot of excitement about him, but of course he no sooner had he started training with Norwich City than he got injured. So when he got injured, you felt, well, they still need something else. And I think Fasnacht, I suppose the best thing you can say for him is that David Wagner wanted him and has worked with him before. So it's one of those, exactly what we said when Wagner joined Norwich halfway through the season, somebody who can hit the ground running. It's not as if he's got to learn about him. It's not as if Fasnacht has got to learn about what's expected. He can slot him straight in the team, because manager and player will both know what's required. And he's 29, he's experienced, he's played in major tournaments for Switzerland. So yeah, I think it's the sort of player that Norwich needed on paper. You never know, do you? There are all sorts of things that can throw a player off, how they settle in a new area, in a new country. It's going to take some time, I'm sure. But on paper, in terms of his pedigree, his experience, his skill set, what he's got, it does seem to fit the bill as to what Norwich City were lacking so obviously in the tail end of last season.
Well, let's hear what David Wagner had to say. We managed to speak to him after that win in Austria against Toulouse, the French side, which was an impressive win, because Toulouse, one of the top teams in France, Norwich winning 2-0, and he spoke about Christian Fasnacht and the signing of him to Phil Daly.
I would say he looks better when he plays football than Thomas Müller. With no disrespect to Thomas Müller, everybody knows how he looks when he plays football. He's an amazing player, but if the Swiss journalist compares him to him, then I'll leave it with him.
Absolutely. You also, I know, been telling the media that might well be your last bit of business unless there's any outs. Is that right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, Fasi was exactly the type of player which we missed in our squad. So he's different to our other wingers which we have. And this is why we were so keen on him. And now I can say I'm very, very happy with the squad which we have together. Milot and Max came back to training last week as well. This is why, obviously, you always have your eye on the market, but I can say that I'm very happy, and I don't expect us to do any further signings. Apart from, obviously, if somebody's leaving us, maybe we have to assess again. But at the minute, I can say I'm very happy with the squad which we have together.
Yeah, David Wagner speaking about Norwich's transfer business this summer, and I think it's interesting, Chris Gorham, that he saying that that's probably it. I mean, it was a bit of a cheeky one, talking about Thomas Müller, being Christian Fasnacht's sort of a light version of him, which would be incredible. If he's half as good as Thomas Müller, we've got some player. But Norwich is saying that that's probably it, unless more go out. So actually, I think with and let's be honest, Norwich fans can get a little bit worked out at the drop of a hat. That's why we love Canary Call. But everyone's like, that's it. But actually, he did say, to be fair, if others go out, so let's say, Milot Rashica and Max go in the next week, then he did say, well, we'll probably bring someone in if we lose those two. So that it's not a reason to panic, is it?
You can forget the Thomas Muller comparison, because I remember you and I on the scrimmage talking to somebody from Hamilton when Norwich signed Tony Andrew, and we were told he's just like Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah. That he had two eyes and a nose. Yeah,
so you hear that and you think, we've got a player here, and then you kind of got to wait to see how these things work out, haven't you? I think it's one of those, isn't it, where I mentioned this a minute ago. Going into the summer, there was a lot being said about rebuild, and I think I'll be honest, I probably got a bit carried away with that, and I expected more transfer activity in terms of incomings over the summer, just because it felt like there was a lot of work that needed to be done. But thinking about it, being a little bit more composed about it, a little bit more thoughtful, there's no point just signing players. You've got to sign players that are going to actually make a difference and improve the quality of the squad and deliver what wasn't there last season. And we know that Norwich City's budget is limited. We've talked about that so many times. So in one transfer window, realistically, how many players are you going to be able to bring in that are actually going to improve the first 11 of a team that had a fair bit of Premier League experience in it? So, I think there are still, to me, one or two concerns about the squad, which I'm sure we'll come on to as the first few weeks of the season go on. I think, especially with Hanley not going to be back until Christmas time, probably because of his injury. Jonathan Tompkinson picking up an injury in pre-season. We're not that far away from another central defensive injury crisis, so that worries me. We've had that so many times, haven't we, in recent seasons. I'm a little bit concerned about that. It is this, that the old thing about, where's the new Tetty, where's the new Ollie Skip, where's the defensive midfielder? But so often last season in these home games that Norwich were losing towards the end of the season, we saw Max Aarons and whoever was left back flying forward, and then Norwich were caught out on the break, and when Kenny McLean wasn't playing and dropping in between the two centre backs, they were exposed time and time again. But that's the way David Wagner plays. He's the way he sends a team out. He doesn't really want somebody in central midfield who's just going to win the ball and do nothing else. He wants a Kenny McLean type who can get stuck in, but can also then pick the ball up and make things happen. So maybe expecting the new Tetty to arrive over the summer was never really going to happen, and it's going to be a Liam Gibbs or a Jakob Sorensen who's going to have to do that role. I don't think Sorensen's involved in the squad either today, actually. It's another one.
No, I haven't seen his name down. But sometimes they do change it in pre-season.
Yeah, they do, exactly.
They did at Lynn. There was like, hang on, this is a completely different team. So you never know.
You do never quite know. But so I would say yes, there are areas of the squad where I worry a little bit about a couple of injuries or a suspension, and Norwich look a little threadbare. But I don't think I've ever gone into a season not feeling that about
Absolutely.
Norwich City.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why the pessimism, I think, for Norwich fans might be a good thing, because sometimes when you don't expect it, it happens. Adrian Coote's with us as well. Let's just talk about the centre-half pairing. They've gone for Shane Duffy and Ben Gibson today. You would have thought that, if Norwich are picking their best team, you'd want to have a place for Andrew Omobamidele, because he's a fantastic player. He was one that perhaps Norwich fans thought might be leaving, possibly not now. He is involved today, unlike Max Aarons and Milot Rashica. But Shane Duffy's an interesting one, Cootie. He's a big, bruising, tough centre-half, which most of them are, to be fair, and you played against a few in your time. But actually, Norwich are kind of making a bit of thing on their social media about, we're really doing strength training. I saw they did a video of them all lifting weights the other day. So I think they've recognised the fan vibe of, hang on, are we really tough enough? Does this team need a little bit of grit? What do you make of that? I think it's a fair point, isn't it? Norwich fans are probably right there.
Yeah, I do. I think that's one thing that could have been thrown at us for a few seasons, is that perceived as being quite soft. We had them successful seasons in the Championship, and we knocked the ball about really, really well and played some really attractive football. But there's another side to the Championship, and you need to be sort of prepared for that part of it as well, because some of the games you're going to need that, and so to see the likes of Duffy and even Barnes up top as well, has seemed to put himself about a little bit pre-season. It's going to be needed in the Championship. It's a really, really tricky league, and whilst it's great to play that really nice flowing football and create chance after chance, there are some games, especially away from home, where you're going to need to sort of go away and really kind of battle and scrap for any points and goals and chances you can get. And
that's it, isn't it, Chris? I mean, how many times did we say it on the scrimmage last season, or Canary Call, or on our long journeys, Norwich just need a bit of grit, need a little bit of fight, and also, as good old Chris Hughton said that time, a bit of the devil in them as well.
Yeah, it's right. Here come the Norwich players, and there's a smattering of fans inside Carrow Road early for this only home pre-season friendly, so they're getting a good welcome. And I think when you look particularly what happened at the end of last season, and we've gone over this so many times, but when on that Good Friday, when they won at Blackburn, the last win of the season, when they lost Kenny McLean just before it, they lost Hanley, they lost Gibson. After that, without those three players, that was when it really looked as if Norwich City were just a little bit weak, is the word I would use. As soon as they conceded the goal, their heads went down, and they lacked that little bit of leadership, that little bit of elbow grease. And having Gibson and McLean back, that helps in that sense at least. But Grant Hanley, I've mentioned this already, he's not going to be back for some time. That was such a serious injury at Blackburn, so that's why Shane Duffy's come in. And in a way, it's good that they have plugged that gap, but it also means that Norwich are not really any further forward than they were last season, because you look at who's come in. Duffy, all that's done is replace Hanley. It's not as well as Hanley, it's just a replacement for what they've lost. And then up front, Barnes is a completely different kettle of fish to Teemu Pukki. So yes, that is one area of the team where you wouldn't expect him to score the number of goals that Pukki did. I mean, not that Pukki got that many last season actually, but over his career, if Ashley Barnes plays for Norwich for the same length of time as Pukki did, he won't get as many goals, but he will put himself about. He will be a bit more of a leader. He will be able to, on those occasions that Adrian Coote's just been talking about, when the going gets tough, you do need players like that who are going to stand up and carry those who perhaps haven't got that side of the game, carry those through it, and that was severely lacking. I think David Wagner had half a season here to address the Norwich City squad, look at what they had, look at what they didn't have, and that was one thing that he picked out when we spoke to him quite a lot towards the end of the season. It was one thing that was glaringly obvious from the stands, and you can see with the signings they've made. Fashnacht is an international. Barnes is a player who's been there and done that. Duffy's an international. Jack Stacey, a player with bags of championship experience. That's what they needed. This wasn't a summer to go out and sign lots and lots of names for the future. Norwich need to do that, and it looks like potentially with Kellen Fisher they've got a player with bags of potential. But it would have been no good going out and signing 6 Kellen Fishers over the summer. You needed players with experience, a bit of know-how. And when it gets tough, because as David Wagner has said over the summer, Norwich City are no longer, and they can't go into this season saying, we're one of the best teams in the division. They're not that anymore. They're going to have to earn the right to play in the Championship, and the only way you can do that is by getting stuck in and rolling your sleeves up. And I think just about Norwich are better equipped to do that than they were last season.
Yep, I've just been handed a team sheet, Chris, and good to see that Darren Cann is the assistant referee today, so he'll be that's obviously allowed in pre-season friendlies because he was on the books at Norwich once, so that's why I can't ever do it in real life. Well, just from Norfolk as well. Just a quick update for you. I'm told that we can expect to see Christos Schollis playing with the under-21s in their next friendly just to get 90 minutes, because they feel that he needs 90 minutes. And the news is that Jakob Sorensen has a slight niggle, I'm just being told, so that's why he's not involved. Okay, right. Well, we'll be back with Chris and Cootie in just a few minutes. You're listening to BBC Radio Norfolk. This is live coverage of a pre-season friendly, the final one of the season for Norwich against the Greek side Olympiacos. Looking forward to it. Lots of people already in the ground. I reckon there'll be probably best part of 20,000 here today, because Norwich fans love a pre-season friendly. We shall see. We'll tell you exactly how many people are here later when the club tell us. But it's always a good occasion, this. Just that final little kind of pre-season warm-up before Hull City come to Carrow Road next week for the big kick-off in the Championship, live here, of course, on BBC Radio Norfolk. Joe Dean is our reporter today. He's out and about. Let's hear from him. He's speaking to the EDP, Sam Seaman.
Right, so I've just popped into the press room and I'm with the Pinkins' Sam Seaman, who's recently graduated as well. So congratulations, Sam. That's now you can just focus on the Pinkins stuff.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm very excited to just watch Norwich City on a regular basis now without worrying about anything else. So yeah, thanks very much.
You're saying a bit resentfully, you've not been out there with Connor and Paddy out in Germany and basically everywhere across Europe, yeah. But you've managed to catch a bit of it back here in Norfolk on the streams. What have you made of it so far? Who's impressed you out of the new boys, out of some of the younger lads?
I think Kellen Fisher's one that I actually really like. I know he was announced as a sort of signing for the under-21s and somebody who's going to probably develop in the future. But I think in a first-team environment, he's actually really impressed me. And I think what I noticed most in those games was probably more structure, and it's probably not the most exciting things for fans to hear, but the defence looks a lot better, and I don't think too many people will be complaining after how that defence looked at times last season. So that looks like it's really improved. Some of the new players have really shored that up, Shane Duffy especially, but yeah, that looks like the main change. Probably still some creativity issues, unfortunately, but if they can score 1 goal a game and keep the other team out, then that's going to be enough. So I think that's how the team looks based on those pre-season friendlies, but I try not to judge too much on pre-season ever really.
We've got the team out. Just the team news about 10 minutes ago it came out. It looks very strong. It looks like the sort of team that we're likely to see next week. Is there any changes you'd make to it? Are you a bit surprised by anything?
Not really. I think that's what Wagner and Norwich are clearly doing with today, is treating it as a full-on dress rehearsal for when the championship kicks off. That's the sort of team that, if Hull had been today, I think Wagner would have started. So not many changes that I would have made. I think perhaps if he's going to make it a little bit more solid, then McCallum would have been the left-back choice over Younulis. But I think if you've got a pair like Duffy and Gibson there, that's very, very good at sort of organising and remaining structured, then maybe that's where some of that creativity comes from, and where they might need somebody like Younulis. But yeah, I'm not surprised by that team whatsoever, especially given Jakob Sorensen's been struggling with injury a little bit. I'm not sure he had too many options, because the depth of the squad probably still needs improving a little bit. But yeah, based on pre-season and probably what we're likely to see next Saturday here at Carrow Road, I think that's the team I was expecting to see.
One big name that seems to be missing is Christos Jolis. We've not heard anything about an injury. He was obviously loaned out at the start of last season. Some people have been impressed with him at the start of this season, maybe expected him to play a bit of a bigger role, but him being left out, it's not a good sign for him.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, and David Wagner did praise the shape that he'd come back in. I think after Barnet we spoke to him, and he said he was really pleased with how he'd returned to Colney, but I don't think he's really set the world on fire in too many of the pre-season games. He looked quite good actually in that Toulouse one in midweek, but yeah, the fact that he's not in the squad today definitely is something that needs investigating, after obviously he spent a great portion of last season out on loan as well, and then didn't really do too much when he came back to Carrow Road. So I think it feels like one of those where every summer now it's going to be a bit of a question as to what happens with Christos Jolis, and it's certainly one that fans will have a keen eye on, given he's obviously not travelled with the group today.
And it's the first chance the fans have been at Carrow Road since the last day of last season, which was quite a toxic atmosphere. That defeat to Blackpool feels like quite a long time ago, but I know it's only a friendly and the atmosphere is never going to be too bouncing for a friendly, but it's important that the players put on a bit of a show, because the fans haven't seen that much good football here at Carrow Road over the last 2 or 3 years, really.
Yeah, I think it's a chance for a reset for everyone, really. I think even myself, coming to Carrow Road for the first time in a couple of months, it was nice to just look around and feel like there maybe wasn't the sort of pressure and toxicity that there was at times last season. But the club have done plenty in the summer. Obviously they did that forum with you guys in Radio Norfolk, and it feels like they've been doing more to include those fans, and they definitely see that as a priority, which I think Norwich fans were crying out for really during last season. So hopefully there's going to be a bit of a lift in the mood. I think, as you said, the friendly probably means, although it probably won't be raucous, I think the audience that there's going to be will be a little bit more light-hearted and a little bit more ready to enjoy it. So hopefully that the team can match that performance from the fans, and can match that atmosphere, and can hopefully give fans something to look forward to next week, because I think that's another good thing about the new season, really, is because nobody's made any mistakes yet. There's always that positivity, and I'm enjoying it so far and looking forward to the game.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Sam. We'll be catching up with the Pink and Lads, of course, all the way through the season. Back to you in the gantry, Rob.
Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, Joe Dean, our reporter this afternoon. We'll hear more from him. He's going to be out and about with some fans a little bit later as well. Let's talk now a little bit more from David Wagner. He's been speaking to Phil Daly after that Toulouse win in midweek in Austria, 2-0. And that's a fresh start here in the summer. Lots of optimism, not all optimism from Norwich fans, but there's plenty of optimism around the place, looking for fresh starts, positivity, and Wagner's been echoing that.
To be fair, I think we very quickly left everything what was in the last season. We left it in the past, and I think this was exactly the right thing to do. Big credit to our new signings, and credit to the guys of last season as well. How quick they gelled together. I only can say that the atmosphere and the spirit the demanding on each other and on themselves in training. The standards which they set is unbelievable high. They really push each other. They like to play and work with each other. I think you can see this, especially in the defense period of the game, how everyone digs in, works hard to keep the clean sheet and to defend proper. And obviously in ball possession, we try to start to find our pattern as well, create some opportunities. Obviously, it's still a lot of work to do, and it will be work to do after the preseason as well. And after preseason, it's never done. It's all about progression, but how they've started and how they progressed is very good. Very nice to see that the spirit is very demanding, and this is what we need. And obviously, like always in the preseason, we had some dark horses, which impressed me as well. If I see what Tony Springett has done in the preseason, it's very good. Kellen Fisher, who was anything but on our radar, who only was with us starting the preseason because Max Aarons was with the under-21, impressed us all together very, very much. And I'm really looking forward to work with these young guys as well.
Now, obviously, money has come into your transfer dealings, but how much has that youth and maybe the surprise package of some of the players you've just mentioned meant that you haven't necessarily needed to spend so much money? I know a lot of fans sometimes are disappointed when there's sort of young signings come in and they're not necessarily thinking them as first team players. You know, you must be really excited that those prospects are closer to the first team than maybe you expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And normally everybody has to be smart enough to know it's not all about the money. So if you can get some free transfers in the building with quality and character, it's not about the money. And if you can find some very talented players in your academy, or that some loans come back, or some new signings for the academy as well, come on, then let's do it. This was always and will always be part of our philosophy at Norwich City Football Club, to give the youth a chance if they are good enough and if they have the willingness and the attitude to work and to progress. And as I said, we had some players at the beginning of the preseason where we altogether were not quite sure how they will progress, how they will look like. But I've named these two examples. I can name Plachetta as well, who was out for a very long period. Johnny Rowe, who was out for a long period, even if he was back, but he was not on the fitness level which he had to have at the end of the last season. So there were a lot of players which we had not on our radar in the last season, which we can name as something like new signings as well. And they really impressed, and they took their chance, to be fair. And we will see how will this progress. And I said this before, and there will be the moment where I have to make decisions how we continue with these guys. But what they have shown in the preseason was quite good.
David Wagner there, speaking to Phil Daly earlier about this game. Olympiacos, the visitors here to Carrow Road in a pre-season friendly, the last one before the big kick-off next Saturday against Hull City. We'll be here for that, and of course Chris Gorham will be. And if you just joined us, Chris can give you the team news for Norwich.
I wonder how similar this will be to the first 11 that we'll be giving you on BBC Radio Norfolk in a week's time. Angus Gunn in goal, Jack Stacey at right back, Demetrius Yanulis at left back, Shane Duffy and Ben Gibson, the two central defenders for Norwich City this afternoon. Gabriel Sarah and Kenny McLean in the centre of midfield, with Christian Fasnacht on the right, Onel Hernandez on the left, Josh Sargent and Ashley Barnes, two strikers in the Norwich City starting 11. Whether one of them will be asked to drop a little bit deeper, we shall see. On the bench, Krul, Omobamidele, McCallum, Fisher, Gibbs, Springett, Porchetta, Nunez, Ida and Rowe. One or two absentees for Norwich today that we've mentioned, but for those just joining us, no Max Aarons or Milot Rashica, who we're told are back training with Norwich but haven't been involved in any of the pre-season friendlies, with all the talk that they may well be moved on. No Jakob Sorensen today because of an injury, a niggle, I'm told, and Christos Jolis isn't involved in the squad for this one. I'm told David Wagner wants him to get a bit more game time, so he's set to play 90 minutes for the under-21s in their next friendly. And I think that aside, that just about sweeps up all of those Norwich players who we might have thought we were going to see today but actually aren't going to.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear what the fans are thinking. Joe Dean's out and about.
Now, I've popped outside of the press room. I'm just outside the south stand where we've got the new sort of mural with all the legends. We've got Teemu Pukki, Brian Gunn, Darren Huckabee, Grant Holt, Jeremy Goss, Wes Houlihan, Carrow Road where legends are made. I've got a couple of fans with me, Bob and Lily. What do you make of it? It's a lovely thing. They always do revamp this bit of the stadium for a new season, and it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It's impressive, yeah. I mean, and great players on there as well. I mean, I wouldn't like to guess how many appearances between all of those players, but they've made some brilliant contributions to the history of Norwich, I'd say. Yeah.
We're hoping that the players out there today, some of them can sort of follow anywhere near the footsteps of some of those players. It's the first chance we've had to come to Carrow Road since last season when things got a bit sour. What are you expecting? Are you optimistic ahead of the new season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to give the manager a whole season to prove what he can do. He's got Huddersfield up before, so he obviously knows what he's doing. And I think, I'm quite optimistic. I think we'll be there or thereabouts, but there are some good teams in the division. So, it's hard to say how well we'll do, but I'd expect us to be up there in the top 6, certainly.
Fantastic, and it's a very special day for you, Lily. Your first time to Carrow Road. How excited are you?
Very, very, very excited.
And any players you're excited to see play? I don't know if any of the new players or some of the old heroes.
I forgot his name. I think it's Jordan
Hugo. I think he might have...
Yeah, he's left, so we might.
Left.
Yeah, we've got Josh Sargent up front. We've got Ashley Barnes as a new player as well. So there's hopefully some goals there. But have you had that moment when you first step out and see the pitch? You must have had that first moment when you walk into a football ground. That's gonna be really exciting for, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're looking forward to that, aren't you? Just hearing some singing as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you got on the ball City practice? Do you know the words yet, or have you been teaching her?
You know some of the words, don't you?
Well, to be fair, even some of us Norwich fans know the first bit, and then we mumble a bit. So you can do a bit. You can do a bit of that. What do you make of the summer business so far? Are you happy with what's done? Do you think a bit more needs to happen?
Yeah, possibly a few more signings. But yeah, I think, like you said, after last season, players have got a point to prove. So I think you have to get the balance right. New players, but at the same time, players from last season obviously still have a contribution to make as well. So yeah.
And yeah, as we said, things sort of soured towards the end of last season. Hopefully the atmosphere, everyone sort of has a reset. I think fans on social media certainly have seemed to be a bit more optimistic in the last week or so, because there was a lot of doom and gloom earlier this summer. So hopefully the atmosphere can be back to what it was when Norwich were doing really well.
Definitely, yeah. I think this is obviously the last game ahead of the season next week, so I think he'll put a strong team out, and yeah, hopefully there'll be a decent crowd to get behind them, because it's a week away, isn't it, this season? So yeah.
And have you got your ticket for next season, or for next week? Sorry.
No, I can't make it, but I'm away on holiday. But I'll be keeping a close eye on the score.
There's something this season we've got to deal with, which we haven't over the last few years. Those noisy neighbours over the border. How nervous are you feeling about that? Because it's been a very long time since we've played them. An even longer time since they've beaten us. Is there any worries there?
I think they'll certainly be. They'll definitely be up for beating Norwich. I think it's good to have the derby back, and 14 years I think it is since they last beat us, so they're going to be up for it. But I think Norwich will win both those games. No concerns.
Hopefully it's a nice entertaining game, and Lily, you'll want to come back. You've got your sweets ready as well. What do you think the score's going to be?
I don't know.
Have a guess.
3-1.
3-1, there we have it. Well, that'll be at least 3 goals. We'll take that, because we haven't seen that many at Carrow Road from Norwich's team. Exactly, that's all we want to see. We just want to see some goals. So we went on a ridiculous record at the end of last season where we didn't see any here at Carrow Road. So that's all we're looking for. Back to you in the gantry, Rob, not the studio.
No, we're not in the studio, Joe. No, but we'll be back with Joe in just a moment for a bit more. But let's talk about the mural, boys. Cootie, you're a Norwich fan. You've seen some of your heroes up there. The great Gossie's up there, and Holty. It's good, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about it while we were listening. We could sit here all day for the rest of the game and talk about who else could be on there and stuff like that. But yeah, Yeah, it's a great idea.
It was voted for by the fans, Chris.
It was, and being from Norfolk, of course, I call it a mural.
Yeah, a mural or a mural.
A mural. Yeah, you have to call it a mural, don't you, if you're from Norfolk properly? Yeah, Cootie's right. You can only have so many players on there. It has been voted for by the fans, so that sort of ends any discussion, really, doesn't it, about those that haven't been on. Do you know, Pookie's on there, and of course he left in the summer. I'm more interested in who's going to be the next one. This is what we need now. It's great thinking about all the good times we've had here and all the previous heroes, but let's park that. We need new heroes now, don't we? And that's one thing that Carrow Road has been lacking, and I think that there's been a lot of talk about the disquiet and the lack of sort of connection between the pitch and the fan base, really, since they came back after lockdown. And the Dean Smith era was quite an unhappy one, wasn't it? And it's a place that's crying out for a cult hero now, isn't it? They want players that are going to get them up off their seats and really get them entertained. And Norwich are going into a championship season now where they're not promotion favourites anymore. They are. I think anybody now is a Norwich fan, if you offer them a top 6 finish, would absolutely bite your hand off, because it doesn't feel that likely from what we saw last season. But that means you've almost got to take the England cricket approach. We want to see a bit of baseball on the football pitch, don't we? We want to see players who will just make life uncomfortable for teams like Leicester City, teams who've been in the Premier League more recently now than Norwich City, and that's what we want. We want to be entertained, we want to turn up here, we want to see goals. Norwich aren't going to win every game this season, and I think you've got to expect that, and maybe cut them a bit of slack and not get too downhearted if they do lose the odd game. But I think we just want to see some entertaining football. We want coming to Carrow Road to be fun again. I don't want to be sitting here in a week's time still talking about not having seen Norwich score since February. It's so miserable. The end of last season, it was thoroughly miserable watching Norwich play. Not just the football, but the atmosphere around the place. It was really toxic. There's a lot of unhappiness, and you can't blame supporters for being unhappy, because by Norwich's recent standards, it was a really poor championship season. But that's gone now. Norwich City Football Club is where it is, and the only way it's going to return to its former glories is if everybody takes a deep breath and pulls together and tries to, players entertain the crowds give their support to the fans. That's the only way this is going to get any better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the nearest Norwich fans will have to a cult hero at the minute, well, the two. Grant Hanley's obviously out injured for a while. Kenny McLean has got the captain's armband today, and he's certainly been a brilliant player for Norwich, and I think one of Norwich's most important players, and he could really step up this season and take that kind of cult hero, because we all love Kenny. We all remember him being the mayor of Norwich and what have you. Right, let's get back to Joe now, because he's with some more fans.
So I've just come outside the Barclay and I met someone who's probably getting sick of me now. Nicole's here. She's come straight from Pride as well, which is going on in the city centre, dressed all in pink. Got the rainbow earrings as well, with hearts as well. We've got plenty of colour on you. No one's gonna not recognise you and not notice you today.
I think I'm quite noticeable anyway with my hair. I think people always comment that they can always see my hair coming. But yeah, Pride's any excuse to put on bright colours, wear a rainbow and support people. I think it's incredible.
And how was it as well? I've seen some of the pictures of all the crowds there, and Rob up in the gantry, he's excited for the Pride Wrestling event at the WAW gym as well. Plenty going on at Norwich. It looked like the biggest one we've had so far.
Yeah, the march was huge. The atmosphere was amazing. So I marched with my husband and my son and my friends, and yeah, it just shows that how open Norwich is as a county, as a community. It's just lovely.
And how about you? Did you have a good time? You've got your badge on there as well.
Yeah, it was great. It always is, to be fair. It's the second time I've gone now.
Fantastic. Well, it's a long old walk from the city centre over to Carrow Road, and you're just catching your breath. You're just looking at the bricks over there we've got with the fans' names on. You say you've got one as well, so you can have a look at that later. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the team. Is anyone you're particularly excited to watch today? Any of the new players, some of the younger players maybe? Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing the new signings. Obviously, I've been watching the pre-season on Canaries TV, but I haven't been to a game yet. It'll be really interesting to see how we line up this season, and I don't think we can expect anything huge, but I think if we can see little sparks of change, I think that'll be enough to give fans a little bit of hope going into the season.
Because it is going to be quite important, I think, how Norwich City start, because the fans... Well, the last time they were here at Carrow Road, it was that pretty horrible. Well, it was meant to be a goodbye to Timo Pukki, but it turned into a bit of a toxic atmosphere as they lost at home to Blackpool. This is the first chance fans have had to come back, and they've come back in their numbers by the looks of it. So it's just important they give the players, give the fans something to show.
Yeah, I think, it is up to the players and the team to give us something to cheer for, but it's also up to the fans to give them a chance. Things don't happen overnight. We can't expect miracles just because a few new players have come in. But I think if we can see little things, then that'll give us some hope going into our first game next week.
Absolutely. And yeah, well, yesterday we were watching the Lionesses in the Murderers pub winning their second game. They're not quite through yet, but there was some positive news that Kira Walsh, who went off injured, she hasn't done her ACL, which we were worried about. So that's some positive news there at least.
Yeah, completely. When I saw the news just after I finished the Pride March, and I got someone to text me saying that it wasn't an ACL, and that's incredible. I mean, I think it was still quite serious from what we saw. I haven't managed to read up on it yet, but if we can get her back even towards the later stages of the tournament, she is such an impactful player. There is no one to replace her like for like in our squad, so we do need her back.
As you were saying, you're off to watch Norwich City women tomorrow. I think the season cards for fans who have ordered them arrived yesterday as well, so that's very exciting. And you're going to be very tired, I think, after this weekend. Maybe you just want to... Well, there's going to be plenty more football to watch, but maybe you might have to just ease off it a bit.
I look forward to Monday morning, sitting down and just watching it on TV rather than running around everywhere, but I wouldn't miss Norwich women's pre-season games. If I'm able to go, I'll be there. I'm really looking forward to being back, watching the women's team play every week, so... Fingers crossed for, a win tomorrow and see how the team are forming up ready. Their season doesn't start until the 20th of August, so we've got a little bit of time. But yeah, I'm just so excited for the season to be back. I've missed football so much.
Well, haven't we all? We're all back at Carrow Road for the first time in what feels like forever. Back to you up in the gantry, Rob.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, great to hear from Nicole Nichols talking about Norwich City women and, of course, the Lionesses, two teams we support fully here on BBC Radio Norfolk. Looking forward to this game, Norwich City against Olympiacos in a pre-season friendly at Carrow Road. As you can imagine, quite a few people here looking forward to this. Having a first glimpse of Norwich this season. And David Wagner, the head coach, he's made his way out onto the touchline. Let's have a final word from him. He says he wants a positive mental attitude here at Carrow Road this season.
Yeah, I only looking forward positive with a 100% positive mindset. I'm excited to be back at Carrow Road. All the players are. They like to show how hard they worked in pre-season. Obviously, they will have some heavy legs because we come immediately from the pre-season camp in Austria, fly back on Friday and play on Saturday. But this is exactly the challenges which we like to have. The new signings and some of the guys who were on loan were a long time not at Carrow Road, never played, or a long time don't play in a home shirt at Carrow Road, and this is what excites us all together. We will take this match like we will take the home match against Hull a week later in terms of the schedule. And hopefully with a good crowd, we can show what we've done in pre-season, even if we know, as I said, after pre-season the work is not done. We have some further work to do in the next weeks and months, to be fair.
And that was David Wagner speaking ahead of this one. I can see the players in the tunnel, and it's always lovely to be up here in the gantry. It's a beautiful sunny day, blue skies, bit of cloud, but lovely sunny day, and I can see Norwich Cathedral in the background. One of my favourite sights here at Carrow Road. And here come those Norwich City players in those new yellow and green strips alongside the red and white stripes of Olympiacos. Let's hand over to your commentary team now. Norwich City against Olympiacos, pre-season friendly. We'll hear from the Norwich City former striker Adrian Koo and, of course, Chris Gorham.
Proper pre-season weather, proper cricket weather, bright sunshine at Carrow Road to welcome Norwich City's players back out onto the pitch. It's not an afternoon where league points are at stake, but it is always interesting watching the final pre-season friendly. Who is in David Wagner's starting 11? Because you would imagine that whoever plays today, whoever plays a big part in this game, stands a very good chance of being involved next weekend when the real stuff starts. The fans have turned out in decent number, by no means full, probably not quite half full Carrow Road today. They haven't even opened the top tier of the two stands behind the goals, but those who are here will be looking to really blow away the cobwebs from last season. And I know managers, Adrian Koo, are always very quick to, when they've had a poor season, say, well, we need to move on from that. But there will be a bit of a hangover, won't there? I think there is a sense around Norfolk and amongst Norwich City supporters of, OK, come on, look, you owe us something. It was such a poor season last season. We didn't see many goals at Carrow Road. We really feel like we are owed something from the club now.
Yeah, I'm still blown away by the fact that they haven't scored a home goal since February. I didn't know that as a statistic, and I mean, that's pretty woeful. And so even, we've moved on to a new season, that in itself is going to carry over. But it's the first pre-season game in front of a home crowd on Carrow Road. We talk about this being a good idea of what the lineup for next week may be. That's providing they put in a shift, because you've got 10 other players on the bench that is going to be equally hungry to get into that starting 11. So they're going to need to go out and perform, and like everybody said, we're not going to solve it all in one pre-season friendly, but what we want to see is evidence that we're moving in the right direction. And so we will see.
We will. We'll talk plenty more to Adrian Coote, who's got vast experience of playing in these sort of games. He's going to tell us exactly what we can read into what when it happens. But let me give you the team lineup if you've not heard it yet. Angus Gunn has got the nod in goal for Norwich City. It's Stacey, Duffy, Gibson and Yanulis across the back. Sarah and McLean in the centre of midfield. Fastak playing on the right-hand side. Hernandez on the left. Sargent and Barnes both in the starting lineup. Will it be an old-fashioned strike partnership? We'll see when the game gets underway. The Olympiacos team, their goalkeeper is Konstantinos Cholakis. They'll play with the two Brazilian fullbacks, Ramon and Rodini. They've got Retsos and Ndoye in the centre of defence. Three midfielders, Ibora, Buchalakis and Aguibu Kamara, who's been linked with Liverpool early on in his career. And they'll play with Marius Rusai and the Spanish player Pep Biel in support of the striker Musaris. They finished third in the Greek League last year. Their first game of the new season comes up a little bit later than Norwich City on August the 10th, when they've got a Europa League qualifier. But they did beat Rangers earlier this week by 3-1. A Rangers team that included Todd Cantwell and Kieran Dowell, two former Canaries. 3-1 the score there. We're underway, and it is Olympiacos in their red and white striped shirts with red shorts and red socks, who are attacking the Barclay end in the first half. Norwich in yellow and green. You look Norwich City kit, yellow and green. Yellow, mainly yellow with thin green horizontal stripes rather than the vertical pinstripes we saw last season. Norwich fans looking forward to seeing their team back in action at Carrow Road. Olympiacos in possession on a warm and sunny but blustery afternoon at Carrow Road, and the Greek side knocking it around quite nicely in their own half at the moment. Buchalakis, former Nottingham Forest player, spreads it to the right hand side here, and Rodini, who's playing on the right hand side of the defence. The two Brazilian fullbacks, Rodini playing on the right and Ramon on the left hand side. Back it goes to the young goalkeeper for Olympiacos, Zolakis, only 20, but came in towards the end of last season and was the player of the month for May in the Greek Super League. As Olympiacos, who are used to winning the league, they've been league champions 47 times, but they only came third last season, so a little bit like Norwich City. They'll be a team by their standards that will feel they have a bit of a point to prove going into the new season. They certainly look comfortable in possession, don't they, Cootie? Norwich in the first minute haven't really had a kick.
We haven't touched the ball at all, but I've just been looking about how both teams have lined up, and it looks like what we said and how you've written it down in your book, a straight 4-4-2 for Norwich, with Olympiacos lining up what looks like a 3-5-2. So it'll be interesting that midfield area and how they deal with that kind of extra man they're going to be about. But possession wise, we don't know yet because we haven't had a kick of the ball.
But you're right, it does look like we've got Barnes and Sargent as a front two, and we're not used to seeing Norwich City play with two out and out strikers. Certainly last season Sargent was often asked to drop into the number 10 role behind Pukki, but this is a front two, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I think having a physical presence up top like Ashley Barnes allows for that. We talked about wanting to see Teemu Pukki and Sargent play as a two together, but they were quite similar in terms of their stature and the runs that they made. You'd expect Ashley Barnes to be able to get hold of the ball and link and bring people into play, and Sargent to be running off of him. So let's see how that works out.
Norwich have pressed high up the field, forced a poor kick from the goalkeeper Cholakis. It went out of play. Norwich had a throw in high up the field, but Fasnacht took it quickly, and they've ended up just playing it back into their own half in order to keep possession and really get a good feel of the ball for the first time. Yanulis, it'll be an interesting afternoon for him. Norwich's own Greek international, playing against Greek opposition. Not for the first time, of course, in his career that he's played against Olympiacos. As the ball goes back to Gunn, who's well and truly established himself as Scotland's number one over the summer. His first 4 games for Scotland, he's only conceded 1 goal, and that was an Erling Haaland penalty. 0-0. Norwich City's final pre-season friendly. Gabriel Sara just has his heels taken there by Biel, the Spanish attacker. For Olympiacos and Norwich have a free kick in their own half. England have just lost another wicket. Harry Brook out for 7, 222 for 4, so that's a lead of 210 in the 5th test at the Oval. We'll keep you up to date with that, as well as all the local cricket and the local football. It's a busy afternoon. Saturday Sport on BBC Radio Norfolk. Gibson for Norwich City, playing the ball back towards the edge of his own area when McLean is waiting for it. He gives it to Gunn, and Gunn works the ball over to the right hand side, and Jack Stacey, who, for those who've been watching Norwich City in pre-season, they've been impressed with what they've seen from Stacey. Norwich they'll go back to goalkeeper Gunn, and it's now Olympiacos' turn to push high up the field, and Norwich trying to play their way out. And Janulis has lost possession, and Olympiacos have it back on the halfway line with Ndoye. And now the other centre-back, Retsos, takes over. We've seen a little bit of Norwich in possession now. Adrian Coote, first thoughts?
Yeah, I was hoping that with the new season we'd potentially see the back of that idea of knocking the ball around between our centre halves in our own 6-yard box. but it seems like that might be here to stay. Always makes me feel on edge and uncomfortable, because like we saw there, when Giannoulis gives it away, he gives it away so high up in the pitch, or so far pressed on Olympiacos, that they're only 20-25 yards from our own goal when they pick the ball up. And I'd like to see us maybe get the ball forward a bit quicker.
Ramon is coming forward on the left-hand side for Olympiacos. It's played into the penalty area here. And now not towards the edge of the box, where a challenge comes in from Sarah, and he's done a good job there for his team. Barnes then lays the ball off to Hernandez, who has his first chance to burst up towards the halfway line. Goes down, and it's a free kick to Norwich City just inside their own half. Yeah, they were caught out a number of times last season at Norwich City in moments like that, giving the ball away. But
I don't mind here, halfway in your own half. It's just across our own 18-yard box and stuff like that. I just think that there's, less dangerous ways to play. It's great if it comes off, and we all saw it, I don't know how many seasons ago, against Man City, when we beat that press playing football like that, and it worked really, really well. But I don't know, when you continue to play like that, teams will set up against you in a way that will kind of set traps for you, and you'll end up with one stray pass 20 yards from goal, and that could be the difference between winning and losing a game.
What they do have back, having missed the tail end of last season, is Kenny McLean. He's very good at dropping in between the two centre-backs. And actually, when David Wagner made that very promising start as Norwich City head coach, the form of Kenny McLean was key to it. And Norwich have now won a free kick. Over on the far side, the right, Barnes has taken a shove in the back. And this is an opportunity for Norwich to perhaps test the young goalkeeper, Konstantinos Soulakis, for the first time. It's 0-0. We've been playing for 5.5 minutes. And Norwich City fans trying to find their voice. It's pre-season for the fans as well.
All four of them.
Songs, yeah. We wait for Sarah to whip this free kick in with his left foot from the right-hand side. Barnes, Sargent, Duffy, Gibson. Fastnacht as well scored with a header the other day. There's certainly a fair bit of height in this Norwich City team. That's one difference about them. Straight away, when you look at the lineup in the penalty area, as Sarah whips it in, but it's not a good delivery, and it's easily headed away by Ramon. And now Kamara taking control inside his own half, finding Ramon, and the Brazilian fullback launches it up the field. Bit of no-nonsense defending there. Giannoulis brings it under control, and then nearly gives it away deep inside his own half, and he immediately wins the challenge and wins a throw-in out of it. But straight away the hand goes up in apology. He was caught in two minds then, wasn't he, Giannoulis? Didn't know whether to go back to gun and play safe or try and turn defence into attack quickly, and in the end he sort of didn't do anything.
No, I think you always run the risk of that when you sort of play a blind pass, and that's what it was. Gunning goal would have been the easier option, and starting again, because they didn't have much pressing on, because it came from a wasted Norwich free kick, so the Olympiacos players weren't that high up the pitch. But
here's Onel Hernandez. He takes a bit of a challenge there, and the ball goes out for a Norwich throw. Thrown down to Sarah, who plays it early. Sargent's making an intelligent break into the left channel here. The American catches up with the ball, keeps it in play by the corner flag. He's got Hernandez for support, and he's unlucky there, Sargent. He very cleverly played it against the centre-back, Retsos, and then tried to get back out of the way a bit, but it was a bit like the sort of thing you see in the cricket, where he desperately tried to move his bat out of the way a bit, Sargent, but it found the edge, didn't it, and hit him again, and went out for a goal kick rather than a corner. Yeah,
unlucky, but a nice positive forward pass, Sargent getting into a little bit of space, albeit out wide, but in behind. But straight away, as soon as he's on the ball, two Olympiacos defenders on him.
A lot of talk about where the goals would come from for Norwich City without Pukki. As Sargent lays the ball off to Barnes, who, stretching, couldn't quite control, and gives away a free kick. Something that I thought did get a little bit lost in amongst the fond farewells and the deserved farewells for Teemu Pukki was that Sargent did actually outscore him last season. Sargent got 13, Pukki got 10. And for a lot of that time, Sargent wasn't even playing up front. So, yes, OK, Pukki, big boots to fill, but I don't know whether Sargent quite got the credit last season for the goals that he did get.
No, and we all know that he can finish and he's a clever player. And I hope having Ashley Barnes around him, bringing him in and sort of linking him in and getting him involved more will only create more opportunities for him.
8 minutes played, goalless at Carrow Road, this final pre-season friendly for Norwich City before they kick off next Saturday against Hull City in the Championship. And it's the Greek side Olympiacos who are stroking the ball around on halfway. And Doy, their centre-back, goes for a long ball through the middle here. Marias has got him behind the Norwich defence, but Shane Duffy spots the danger, comes across, wins the ball off him and clears it away. Musaris got away there, didn't he? There was a hint of offside about it, but Shane Duffy wasn't taking any chances.
No, and covered that well. I got frustrated, I think, quite a lot last season seeing those kind of one balls beating the Norwich back four and somebody being in it. Almost looked like a good chance had been created there, but luckily Duffy was on his toes, read it well and defended well, no nonsense.
Well, Masouras, who got in there, did score for Greece against the Republic of Ireland in an international game back in June. Duffy wasn't in the Ireland team that day, but Adam Eder was, so they should know all about him. Norwich have conceded a free kick just inside their own half, and it's the Greek team in the red and white stripes, Olympiacos, who will take it. We've got a Spanish manager, Diego Martinez, who was brought in over the summer, former Osasuna, Granada and Espanyol manager. One of these players who retired very early at the age of 20 and has gone on to have a glittering coaching career. This time Masouras is flagged offside, and he'll want to do well, Diego Martinez, because Olympiacos are owned by Evangelos Marinakis, who is most famous in English football for being the owner of Nottingham Forest, and most famous for being a man who doesn't mess around when it comes to managers underperforming, although he did stick with Steve Cooper last year, didn't he? There were a couple of times where it felt like the Forest manager might get the sack in the Premier League, but he stuck with him, and it turned out to be the right decision.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
And that's why you've got a couple of players in this Olympiacos squad today who have got Nottingham Forest on their CV as former clubs. The midfielder Bouchalakis being one of them. 0-0, Norwich in possession with Stacey on the right-hand side, and the Carrow Road sunshine goes for a high ball forward. Adrian Coote was saying that Fasnacht was offside, but the ball wasn't played through to him enough anyway, and it's the young goalkeeper Bouchalakis who can pick it up for Olympiacos. David Wagner stands over on the far side of the pitch, his feet shoulder width apart, wearing a green tracksuit top, black shorts, arms folded, wondering whether it's possible in this final week of pre-season to play yourself into the starting 11 for next week. Poor kick out from the Olympiacos goalkeeper. Hernandez finds Sargent on the edge of the penalty area. Could be a chance for Norwich. Sargent takes it early, bit of a deflection, and in the end a comfortable save for Bouchalakis. But from a striker's point of view, Adrian Coote, even in pre-season, in terms of getting goals, confidence.
Yeah. I can't blame him for taking the strike on there. Is probably better options for him, but early on in the game, it's first real sight of goal, and just hasn't managed to get any power behind it, and hit it straight at the keeper. Apart from that, it was perfect.
but if you have a good pre-season, you get goals in pre-season. Does it breed to confidence when the season starts?
Yeah, it does. You just get that momentum early, and you kind of get into groove, and especially with new players coming in, they get a sense of the player you are and where you like to get the ball and what areas you're sort of dangerous in. So it certainly helps.
0-0. Haven't really had a sight of goal at either end yet. In the first 11.5 minutes, and it is Retsos, one of several Greek internationals in this Olympiacos squad, the centre-back, who brings it up towards the halfway line, runs into the formidable figure of Ashley Barnes, so finds Bouchalakis. Now Beale. This is a nice move from Olympiacos. In the end, it's crossed in by Ramon from the left-hand side, falls to Beale, who tees it up on the edge of the penalty area. Back it comes about 25 yards from goal, and a curling ball towards this right-hand side where Rodini has got forward. The Brazilian wing-back, in the end he gets tackled by Hernandez. Good covering from the Norwich City winger, and the ball's out for the first corner of the game to Olympiacos in front of the Barclay end of Carrow Road.
Just that little passage there from Olympiacos almost gives you that kind of, that's how I want my Norwich team to play, because it looked quite simple, some fluid passes, one touch, two touch, diagonal ball, and tried to get the cross in to the box, but well defended by Hernandez, but now a corner to defend.
Which Beale is going to take short and then get back from this right-hand side and then try to roll towards the edge of the penalty area, but Hernandez reads it perfectly, intercepts for Norwich, but then wastes the opportunity to set up the counter-attack, because Ashley Barnes was breaking through the middle of the pitch, and Hernandez put the ball about 5-10 yards in front of him.
Yeah, I think, when you get the ball and you win it back after they've given it cheaply, just kind of settle everything down and look for that pass. I think he's just sort of played a hopeful air ball forward in the hope that somebody would break and get onto the end of it, and all he's ended up doing is just giving possession away again.
Norwich City 0, Olympiacos 0, but the Greek team come forward on the left-hand side. Good challenge there from Jack Stacey, really good. And he's got it back on the right-hand side and plays it inside to Barnes, and McLean gets caught in possession there by Masouras, deep inside his own half, but Gibson is there to sweep up and cut out the danger for Norwich City. Back to Sarah now, who from halfway inside his own half plays it back to Gunn. Really interesting, isn't it, the way Norwich have started this game. You can see what they're trying to do, and they don't mind having possession inside their own half and trying to build from deep, but Olympiacos inside the first 13 minutes are wise to it, and apart from now, whereas Gibson brings the ball out, or Duffy brings the ball out from the back, they're not giving them any time, are they?
No, I think what Norwich are hoping is that one or two of them press and then they start playing around those players, but they've kind of set themselves 25 yards from Norwich goal with a view that, okay, you can have it there, but as soon as you get to this point, we're going to come and close you down.
And
but
we're
we're going
seeing
to come as a
Gunn get
unit.
closed down there as well, and Norwich played the ball back to Gunn, and there was a moment there where McLean had the ball on the edge of his own penalty area. He had 2 Olympiacos players between him and Gunn, and he still played the ball back to the goalkeeper. It's high risk stuff, isn't it?
Risk reward, and again, I would argue, how many times playing that way have we seen us create something this game over the course of last season positive that's led to a goal or something like that? How many times have we seen us nearly concede? I just think that the risk outweighs the reward massively.
Can you imagine what the noise would have been like inside Carrow Road if this had been a league game today and Norwich had just done that?
Yeah,
people would be getting jittery, wouldn't they?
Already.
But maybe that's a lesson that supporters have kind of got to learn, that this is the way Norwich are going to play. And getting jittery, I'm sure David Wagner would say, doesn't help the players. That's not to say as a supporter you're not allowed to make your feelings known, but this is clearly the way David Wagner wants Norwich to do it, and now they've given it away. That was poor. That wasn't overplaying. That was just a poor pass, but they're able to win it back with Ashley Barnes, who will work hard for the team deep inside his own half. Now he's released Onel Hernandez, and there's a roar at Carrow Road from the fans are here as Hernandez gets forward on the left-hand side, runs into his marker, plays it infield now to Sarah. Norwich have moved the ball forward well here. McLean, halfway inside Olympiacos territory, strokes it to the right-hand side. Stacey's arriving, low cross, cut out and cleared. Norwich haven't created much yet. McLean swings one into the penalty area from deep, controlled nicely by Hernandez, in the box, tries a curling shot, 2 deflections, and it falls kindly for the Greek team, Olympiacos, who clear it away. Gibson across to try and control on halfway, but had to get there first, and in the end the ball's gone out of play for a throw-in to Olympiacos.
Yeah, and that's come about from Olympiacos giving the ball away firstly, but I think it was Ashley Barnes receiving it, not looking to play back and sit on the ball and build something up again. One touch to control it, nice sharp pass out wide, we've got a bit of momentum, building the attack. Hernandez jinks inside, a few other bits of play, cross into the box, and then Hernandez ends up with a shot, albeit deflected twice, not testing the goalkeeper. But it's that direct kind of purposeful football that that's kind of created us that.
0-0. Ball been played up on this right-hand side now for Olympiacos. Musaris, the striker there, working away. Gibson gets a foot in, but it's broken for Rodini, and he looks for Beale, but it's a good interception from Giannoulis, and Norwich now win it on the centre circle. It was Sargent who was alive to it. Plays it short to Fastnack through the middle here. Fastnack beats a couple of players, gets into the D on the edge of the penalty area, and then just finds that he's got too many defenders to get round, and through it goes to the goalkeeper. For the first time really in the game, you got a sense that fans were moving towards the edge of their seats then, as Fastnack, with very close control, he had 3 or 4 players around him, and he managed to beat the first 2, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it. And a player that you're not really familiar with picks the ball up in that sort of position, and it's like, oh, what can this guy do? And when he beats 2 players, you think, well, maybe. But like you say, he got crowded out in the end, and he had Sargent making a run outside him, which I think would have been the better pass. But I think by that point, after beating the first 2, that he's firmly with sights on goal and wasn't able to beat the other 2 defenders.
A right winger, Fastnack, that's where he started this game, but certainly in that evidence suggests he won't mind getting into the centre forward position and trying to get himself into a shooting area. It's 0-0. Sargent now working hard again, not for the first time, to win the ball high up the field for Norwich City. Slips it to Sarah, lovely touch over the top there from Sarah. Cross comes in for the right hand side towards Barnes, but Ndoye is there to clear it away. Stacey had got round on the right hand side. Sarah found him brilliantly. Stacey crossed it in. He couldn't quite pick out Barnes. Stacey again now plays it towards the edge of the penalty area. Sarah with a lovely bit of control, just in the end found himself crowded out, and it's cleared by Olympiacos up towards the halfway line. There's a sense now that Norwich are getting to grips with it a bit and have begun to look a little bit more dangerous going forward.
Yeah. As that was developing, I saw Stacey out wide, and I saw Ashley Barnes in the box, and although he was the only one in the box, there was only one defender in there marking him, and he was about 5 yards away from Barnes, albeit Barnes on the far side of him. And when that ball's gone out wide, if he'd have just made that 6-7 yard run across the front post, he wouldn't have been picked up, he wouldn't have been seen, and then he'd have had a sort of 6-7 yard tapping at the front post from the first time crossing. So a little bit flat footed there.
Sarah finds Duffy on halfway for Norwich City. He gives it to Jack Stacey, who already looks like he could be a good outlet for Norwich City. We've seen him get forward to good effect a couple of times on the right, and also win a couple of very good tackles in the right back position. Gibson sweeps the ball over towards that side of the pitch now. It's a good pass, and Stacey controls on the front foot, level with the Olympiacos penalty area. Plenty of red shirts back, so he plays safe and feeds it into the midfield, and Kenny McLean. Now here's Sarah, rolls it towards Stacey on the edge of the box, tries to play it quickly to Ashley Barnes, but it was read by Bouchalakis and intercepted. But Sarah hustling and bustling, trying to make life difficult for Olympiacos and forcing them into rather a panicked clearance. McLean gathers halfway inside the visitors' half. This is better from Norwich City. They've just upped the intensity levels in the last 5 minutes or so, and now that's forced Olympiacos to bring everybody back inside their own half. Gibson on halfway tries to feed the ball out towards Yanulis on the left hand side, but it was spotted by Beale and cleared out of play for a throw in. Norwich have taken that throw in quickly. Onel Hernandez gets it on his chest, knocks it down to Sarah on the edge of the penalty area. In a central position here is Ashley Barnes. Hernandez in the area to the left of goal, plays it across, it just needs a finish, there's a flick, it's in the 6-yard box and nobody can turn it over the line. They were queuing up there. McLean from distance, deflection! It swarms in! Norwich City have the lead in their final pre-season friendly. They had a glorious chance before that they couldn't quite turn in, and then Kenny McLean let fly from about 25 yards. It took a wicked deflection, and the goalkeeper Zalakis very nearly got to it. He got a good hand on it, but he couldn't quite keep it from crossing the line. And it's Norwich City 1, Olympiacos 0.
Are we going to count this one as a goal since February? I think we should.
It's
just get that off our back and move on from it.
It's 5 months since I've seen Norwich City's men's team score at Carrow Road, and they just have. So I'll take that. Let's see it. McLean's shot, deflection, and the poor goalkeeper. It's a sort of desperate.
Yeah, he should have got that. I think,
but he couldn't.
But like you were saying in the build-up to it, just a little spell from Norwich where they managed to keep hold of the ball inside the Olympiacos third. I was going to be a little bit critical of Hernandez and his ball in it. I just felt like it was behind everybody, but sometimes they can turn into something, taking people off guard. Tried to turn it goalwards, didn't quite come out, and then the ball, once it's cleared, been hit back towards the goal, taking a deflection. Keeper's fumbled it. It's barely crossed the line, but it's crossed the line. 1-0.
We'll take it, absolutely. In a friendly, Norwich have the lead. The chance before that was certainly a much better one, wasn't it? McLean's from distance needed a deflection, but the one before that, you're mentioning, Hernandez got it across, and there were, I think, 3 Norwich players in the 6-yard box, and neither of them, or none of them, could turn it over the line.
No, but that in itself is quite a positive sign. Having that many bodies committed forward. Hernandez, if he'd put it in front of everybody, it would have been an easy tap in. That sort of corridor of uncertainty between the centre backs and the goalkeeper. Just felt it was a little bit behind people, so they had to sort of stop their runs and having to sort of turn and get the shot away. But hey, we've scored.
Well, McLean's never been a prolific goal scorer for Norwich City, but he's had a decent summer. He got that dramatic late winner for Scotland in Norway, didn't he? In the qualifier, which gave them a fine 2-1 win. And that was a lovely finish on that occasion. I wouldn't describe this one as quite such a lovely finish, but he had a shot from distance, and when you do that, you can get a deflection, you never know. And he's the captain for Norwich City today, and he's given them the lead. Hernandez holds the ball up well into the path of Yanulis. He's away on the left-hand side. Plays it up towards Sargent, who controls 25 yards out, central position. Stacey joins the attack, crosses low from the right, and it's cleared away. But you can see Norwich have taken a bit of confidence from that goal, and now they're stroking it around with a little bit more purpose. And here's Barnes with his back to goal in the penalty area. Back out to Kenny McLean. Shoot is the cry from the crowd. This time he lifts it into the penalty area. Hernandez trying to get around the back, but it's going to go behind for a goal kick.
Just little spells of nice football in that build-up as well. Just moving the ball from left to right. Ball into Sargent. Used his strength, controlled it well first time. Laid it off to Stacey. Ball in the box this time. Not quite good enough.
Well, Norwich, after the first sort of 10-15 minutes where we didn't really see a good deal of opportunities for either side in this game, just the last 5 minutes or so, we said it actually just before the goal, they've upped it, haven't they? They've sort of found their rhythm in this game and really started to cause some problems for Olympiacos.
Yeah, and I think goal settles people down as well.
Here's Sarah up towards Sargent. Barnes heads it forward, offside against Fasnap. He just strayed beyond Retsos, the centre-back, and we're sort of right in line with that and could see. And so the flag goes up, and it is a free kick, which Olympiacos have already taken. Norwich City 1, Olympiacos 0. You're with BBC Radio Norfolk. The final pre-season friendly before it all starts properly. The Championship's big kick-off next Saturday when Norwich City play Hull at Carrow Road. And you may be able to take a few clues from the starting lineup, and I think some encouragement from the way Norwich have started this game, because they've got themselves in front against the side who'll be playing Europa League football next month. They've got it at the moment, the Greek side, with Joy at the back, towards the right back, Rodini. Closed down there by the ever hard-working Onel Hernandez. Hernandez has done well, really well. Played inside to the skipper, McLean, who skates forward, chased down by Rodini. So has to play it out to Jack Stacey. And now here's Sarah over the halfway line. Back to Ben Gibson, and Giannoulis is available in space on this left-hand side. Comes forward tentatively and then plays it inside towards Sarah. Sarah's managed to get past one challenge, and then he's brought down 20 yards from goal. And there was that challenge from Iborra, Vicente Iborra, the Spanish player, 35 years old. He's won the Europa League 4 times in his career, 3 with Sevilla and 1 with Villarreal. But that challenge, not the one that was the foul, but the one before that, it was so half-hearted, wasn't it? That was a real sort of friendly challenge.
Yeah.
Sarah was able to get round him easily.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's done well, Sarah, with what he had in front of him, because it looked for 1 minute he was just going to run straight into players, but a bit of strength, a bit of determination, and a lack of commitment from the opposition has led to him being fouled.
Yeah.
What would you say? 22, 24 yards out?
It's pretty much 20, isn't it? Because it's not far from being level with the edge of the D, but it's to the left of that. Sarah, who scored from a similar sort of situation, a free kick, and the last friendly in midweek against Toulouse, lines this one up with his left foot.
It's a right footer from there for me, but
it's definitely going to be Sarah who's going to take it.
There's no one else there, and I don't even think he's going to go for goal either.
It would be a cracking effort if he does go for goal from here. Sarah got 7 goals last season, his first season for the Canaries. And 25 minutes gone, he's got this free kick. 20 yards out to the left of the D. Everyone back for Olympiacos. Sarah will go for goal, and he wasn't far away. It just flicked the top of the net on the way over.
Yeah, not bad effort at all there. I was then about to pick my words up and put them in my mouth.
Well, I don't know how many free kicks like that you would score, a normal player would score over the course of a year. You almost feel like they're a bit wasted in pre-season.
Yeah, and even looking at the keeper, I don't know whether he's known confidence that he's going wide or over, but he just didn't seem bothered.
No, he wasn't worried, was he? I mean, you've been out there and done this, QT. How intense are friendlies really? How close is this to, the feeling of a league match, for example?
I mean, it's miles away, really. I think, the fact is the ground is half empty. The sun's out. It's a nice day. No points on the line. No talk of top of the league, bottom of the league, anything like that. As a player, you want to practice doing things properly all of the time, and so it almost becomes a habit, closing down people down, fully committing to challenges. But the reality is that there's a really important game next week, first game of the season, that you want to be in tip-top shape for, and so it will sit at the back of your mind a little bit. It's hard for it not to.
The Sergeant's putting himself about up there. He's gone down, no free kick given. Then Sarra goes in with a challenge and gets the free kick. Even though it was Beale, the Spanish winger for Olympiacos, who went down. I think as he went down, he felt he'd been fouled and picked the ball up.
Yeah.
And the referee said, no, it wasn't a foul. So Norwich in the end get the free kick for handball. And really, after a couple of nervy moments in the first few minutes of the game for Norwich defensively, but Gunn didn't really have a save to make. And since then, as the half has gone on, Norwich have been the better side, haven't they?
They have, yeah. And I didn't see too much of pre-season, so I can only read into what I saw. But my impression of those games was a little bit like last season, with the exception of us looking defensively quite sound. I don't think we conceded many goals pre-season. But what it looked like is we just lacked that creativity still, and there wasn't always, chances being created often enough. But then sometimes I think over the last 5 or 6 years, certainly under the Daniel Farker era, was I spoilt, with what he'd offered us, and the attacking fullbacks and the way we used to play football. Am I expecting too much because of what he brought?
Norwich 1, Olympiacos 0. If you're just joining us, BBC Radio Norfolk. We've got all the latest scores from the local cricket, the local football, the Ashes. So that time of the year where it is all happening, and we will bring it to you on BBC Radio Norfolk. McLean in the left-back position for Norwich City finds Gibson, who you can see how frustrated he was with himself there, because he sliced the ball straight out of play for a throw-in, and no sooner had it left his foot than he was almost turning around and sort of cursing his luck there, wasn't he, Ben Gibson? But it's given a throw in for Olympiacos on the right-hand side. Rodini will take it. An opportunity for Massaris to try to get around on the right-hand side, but Norwich have got it well marshalled there. Cornelius and Hernandez on him, and between them have smuggled it out of play, and it will be a throw-in. So some defending for Norwich to do for the first time in a while. A test of whether they've stayed switched on. Rodini, the Brazilian, will take it into the channel here from Massaris to swing it across into the danger zone. Well cleared by Gibson. Barnes holding it up 30 yards from his own goal, tussling, really going into battle for his team there.
Just brilliant, that.
And he wins a free kick, and that is why Norwich wanted to sign Ashley Barnes.
Yeah. I just in that position where they were at, not a lot on. He just needed him to keep hold of the ball, win a foul if he can, or wait till something opens up and you can bring somebody in. And he's won the foul, but yeah, great strength.
Remember going back to the days of Grant Holt, and as many goals as he got for Norwich, how often they'd be under pressure and they'd just thump the ball up towards halfway, and he would, even if he couldn't hold on to the ball, he'd win a free kick and take the pressure off his team. And that'll be the sort of thing, as we've just seen, that Ashley Barnes will try to do. 1-0 Norwich lead. Goal coming from Kenny McLean, a deflected shot about 20 minutes into this pre-season friendly. That's a nice ball from Barnes across the centre circle, and Sargent helps it on to the left wing, where Yanulis will touch it on to Onel Hernandez. Hernandez into the channel, and Sargent now picks up position there. His movement in this first half has been really impressive, Josh Sargent. Crosses, gets blocked, and it goes out for poor old Sargent again. He thought he'd want to throw in, but the referee said no, it came back off you.
It's a bit deja vu, wasn't it? Two men, him, the ball in the corner.
That's a corner and a throw in by the corner flag he feels he should have had, Sargent, but both times the officials have said it came back off him. Throw in anyway to Olympiacos. Rodini from the right back position will take it. And Norwich have just pushed into that corner, as teams always do, just to try and make it as difficult as possible for Olympiacos to get out of this. Yanidis wins the header, but it lands for Puchalakis. And now played on here by Kamara, we haven't seen much of yet. Agwibu Kamara, the Guinea international, a player who a couple of years ago was one of those linked with Liverpool and Manchester United, and Chelsea were even said to be looking at him, but the move hasn't come. And he's still playing for Olympiacos. The ball is with Gibson. Half an hour gone. Gibson hits the ball diagonally across the pitch, headed away by Kamara, who I was just talking about, and it runs into the Norwich half, and then it's knocked back to Angus Gunn, who's not really had a save to make yet, has he, Angus Gunn? As much as when Norwich were caught in possession a couple of times defensively, actually those who've watched Norwich in pre-season have said they've looked more defensively sound, and you would say that, wouldn't you, in the first half hour?
I mean, he's touched the ball obviously, but I don't think there's been a genuine effort on his goal.
Gunn in goal for Norwich today. Tim Krul on the bench. Interesting to see how it goes between those two as the season goes on. Sarah and Barnes. This is lovely play for Norwich City, really finding their stride now. Stacey into the penalty area. Sargent, he thought Sargent was going to make the run out towards the right channel. He didn't. He instead tried to double back inside.
Yeah, and I think this is where these sorts of pre-season games become quite important, because obviously that's a new combination, those two there, and the pass was the right pass and the run by Sargent was the right run. They just weren't aligned. Sargent had made his run expecting the ball at a certain time, just held off half a second, and by the time he'd played, Sargent had been checked and potentially offside, was out of position. It's just sort of fine-tuning that understanding with each other.
1-0 Norwich lead. We've got about 12 minutes to go to half-time. And Doy, the defender for Olympiacos, deals with this one. And Ramon, the left-back, gets himself sort of stuck under a bouncing ball, didn't really deal with it. And in the end, Olympiacos slightly fortunate to get a free kick, because they were unable to bring the ball under control inside their own half. But in the end, Norwich a little over-eager in the challenges. And it may, I say only a friendly, but Diego Martinez, the Olympiacos manager, very animated over on the far side. Not happy at all, I think, with his team rather than anything else.
Yeah. Do we know where Olympiacos are at in terms of their pre-season?
Yes, I was mentioning earlier on, they've actually, their league season doesn't start until after Norwich, but 5 days after Norwich play Hull, they've got a Europa League qualifier.
Okay.
So they've only got, there's a foul given against Norwich there over on the far side. So, that really, if you've got a Europa League qualifier coming up in less than 2 weeks, and they beat Rangers the other night, you want to be in decent shape at this point.
Yeah. Because what it looks like is Norwich's last pre-season before a season start, or at least it has done the last 30 minutes or so, and it looks like one of their first friendlies, Olympiacos, because they're just almost going through the motions a little bit.
I know,
They've played it might just be how they play, but yeah, it just seems too relaxed.
Yeah, well, that's a free kick for Olympiacos over on the far side, the left. We've got a few other players on the bench who did start the game against Rangers in midweek, so whether Diego Martinez will change things. Joe Carvalho, who was with Nottingham Forest a few years ago, he's on the bench. Their main striker is Youssef El Arabi. He's not on the pitch yet, as the ball is played in for the left-hand side by Beale. Headed down by Duffy. It's hit one of his own teammates, and Barnes is there to clear for Norwich City. Slight moment of panic, I think, inside the Norwich penalty area, but actually it was always under control. Here's Kamara on the right-hand side for Olympiacos. Carvalho, the Portuguese player, he did score 2 of the 3 against Rangers in midweek. They've moved it towards the left-hand side of Olympiacos now, trying to put Norwich under a bit of pressure for the first time in a while. And then the pressure is released because it's a really poor pass from Ramon, the Brazilian, out towards the left-hand side, and he passed it straight out for a throw.
Yeah, just not on the same page.
Yeah, in terms of their team, João Carvalho's on the bench. They've got El Arabi on the bench, who's 36 years old, but a Moroccan international who has had a prolific career. His goal-scoring record is phenomenal. But I'm not sure he would have done anything in this game if he'd been playing, because they've not created much, have they? They have won a throw-in high up the pitch here. The Greek side, level with the Norwich penalty area, which Ramon is going to take. Norwich lead 1-0. Goal scored by Kenny McLean via a deflection 20 minutes into this final pre-season friendly. It's thrown up to Retsos here on the left-hand side. Retsos angles it towards this right-hand side. Rodini tries to control, but runs straight into Ben Gibson, who clears comfortably for Norwich City. And again, Barnes just puts himself about there on halfway, knocks the ball down. Sargent goes for an acrobatic volley forward on halfway, but in doing so has caught the Olympiacos player Bouchalakis in the head. And it's one of those where the referee, when you see a boot swinging at head height, always gives the free kick, doesn't he? I think Bouchalakis had stooped slightly, but you always get a free kick given when Boots makes contact with head.
Yeah.
Not too many complaints from the Norwich City players out there. Here's Ndoye, the young defender. It's ball hit back to him now. Ndoye, who played for Greek at the youth international level and now is in the Albania under-21 team. Back to the goalkeeper Sholakis, who probably could have done a bit better with the deflected shot from Kenny McLean. Got a good hand to it, if not 2 hands, but couldn't stop it from squirming over the line. But it's the reason that Norwich lead by a goal to 0 in their final pre-season friendly, with 9 minutes to go to half-time. Bouchalakis has recovered from that knock to the head a minute ago, and he's played the ball back to his young goalkeeper, and now out to the defender Ndoye. He carries it towards the halfway line here, and then plays it low, forward with the left foot, and it's read brilliantly by Sarah, who cuts it out and then tries to break forward, but his attempted pass is intercepted, and Norwich will have to settle for a throw.
Yeah, he's looked quite busy all game, really, on and off the ball.
Yeah, a bit of catching up to do, because he's had an appendix operation, so hasn't played all of pre-season, Gabriel Sarah, but anyone who watched Norwich last season would certainly expect him to be in the team next Saturday, because he was one of the standouts last season, Gabriel Sarah. No surprise to see him and Kenny McLean playing alongside each other, because that spell before it all tailed off towards the end of last season, the games that Norwich won at, thinking particularly at Millwall, they were really linking up well at that point, Sarah and McLean. And it's a partnership that David Wagner will want to get going again this season. Norwich have just played the ball out of play, throw in to Olympiacos. Back it comes to Retsos inside his own half. Gets it back again here. Got a bandage on his right wrist, and he plays it to Ndoye. And Norwich now just dropping off a little bit. And a bit of a breather late in this first half, and a 1-goal lead to protect as we head towards half-time. We'll round up all of the latest scores from the local football. Some competitive action starting for all of our local non-league teams today, and Kings Lynn have their last pre-season friendly as well. Here's Rosaris, the striker, who's had to drop deep to get involved in the game here. Such has been his lack of action, but it's to good effect, because the ball has now been switched wide to the right, and Rodini up towards the corner of the Norwich penalty area. 2 defenders up against him, so he uses Kamara for a bit of support. That's allowed Rodini to get wide, and then plays a dreadful ball forward, hoping that Kamara was going to make the run in front of him. He didn't. The ball rolls behind for a goal kick, and actually they look pretty well organised, don't they, Norwich City?
That's disciplined defending. I saw it earlier on with Giannoulis. He could have held his ground while the ball was in the air travelling on a diagonal, but he didn't. What he did was he made that 6-yard run, even though he weren't going to get there first, in the direction of the player that was about to control it. And what he's done is he's put him off, and the player's first touch has given it straight back to Norwich. And again there, just by being disciplined and well organised, there's nowhere for Olympiacos to pass, and so they end up forcing it and giving the ball away.
And Hernandez as well, coming back and doubling up and supporting his fullbacks. Against Sargent is certainly not approaching this one like a friendly. He's battling for everything, and he just sprinted out towards the right-hand side to just put Olympiacos under pressure, and he's won a throw-in for his team. And it's that sort of work rate. I mean, Barnes and Sargent up front together, if that is the way Norwich are going to go, centre-backs in the Championship are going to know they've been in a game, aren't they?
And that's what
Norwich have lost
got
possession though. The ball's played up towards Beale on the edge of the penalty area. Duffy slides in, wins it on the edge of the box when he had to. Good defending from the Irishman.
Yeah, Hull are going to have people here watching the game in preparation for next weekend, and you want them to go back and say that these guys will never let up. They chase everything, they track back, they're physical, they're strong. I'm just going to say as well, Fashnat, just like to see him a bit more involved in the game. I feel like he's had glimpses, but ultimately he's been quite quiet this half.
Hernandez, left-hand side, tackled. Throw in, should go Norwich's way here and does. 1-0 to Norwich. Just about 5 minutes to go until half-time. Norwich with a throw-in that Giannoulis will take. Hernandez available for the short option and then just spinning away. And Giannoulis taking his time over this one. And McLean eventually shows for it and gives it back to Giannoulis, who is immediately under pressure but does well to wriggle away from Beale, who then fouls him.
Good at them ones.
It's a Norwich free kick just inside their own half on the left-hand side. Back to Gibson. And now it's Duffy. Really interesting. Gibson and Duffy, the two centre-backs for Norwich. Oh, it's given away by Duffy.
I don't even know why he looked that way.
Yeah, deep inside his own half. McLean trying to make up for the error. Fouls Beale, and it's a free kick. And this is, again, pre-season for ironing these things out, isn't it? Duffy in possession on the edge of the penalty area, no pressure, and he played a sloppy pass out, and Norwich were then under pressure.
Just even the way he controlled it, I don't know whether it's because he's left-footed or he wasn't, but he's set up on the right-hand side, so the ball's come across the penalty area. He's expecting to open out with his right foot, continue it going that way out wide because the fullback was on, but he's almost stopped it dead, and he's looking, you can see his eye line looking inside, and so that becomes easy for the two midfielders to then set a trap for him to pass in there. As soon as he's passed it, they're in, nicking the ball, and now Norwich have given a foul away, I don't know, 25, 30 yards from goal.
Which is going to be taken by Beale, free kick. And he's there, actually he's been joined by one of his teammates as well, so this might be an opportunity for Gunn to be tested here by Olympiacos. 4 minutes to go to half-time. Norwich leading by a goal to nil. And that's Rosaris, is it, who's gone over as well to stand over the ball. The striker who's been starved of service really so far. Beale lays it off to Masaris, who drives it low, straight into the feet of Sarah, and it's comfortably cleared by Norwich City. For a low driven shot there from about 25 yards. We saw McLean do that earlier and get a deflection that led to a goal. That one stuck under the feet of Sarah and cleared by Norwich City, so no harm done. Certainly interesting you're talking about Norwich not giving Hull next week and the rest of the Championship a minute's piece. It's something that David Wagner's been very big on, listening to him over pre-season. I remember him saying the other day, Norwich are maybe not they're not going to be the best side in the Championship, so they've got to make up for that by being the fittest side in the Championship, and it's something Wagner is very big on. He's really worked his players over pre-season. And this is why, isn't it?
Yeah, and I want Norwich to be an attractive looking side in terms of playing football, but I don't think that's an expectation anymore. I think that should be a given, that these players should be able to pass the ball.
Trying to play the ball out under pressure. It's gone to Kamara, and there's a chance for Masaris in the penalty area. Sarah has forced him wide. He manages to cross the ball back towards the far post. Stacey's got it covered and clears it away. Norwich just almost getting caught out there, having got through so much hard work in this first half.
Yeah. But yeah, see, you expect your team to be able to put passes together, create chances and stuff like that. Like we spoke about with the players that we brought in, I want Norwich to bully teams a little bit more. I want them to create a reputation for themselves where teams are going to come here and they know it's going to be tough, because we're not going to create as many chances as we have done in past seasons, so we need to be absolutely resolute in our defending and not conceding, because we know how hard it was before. You concede a soft goal, you then have to go and score 2 goals to win it.
Olympiacos building an attack on the left. Jack Stacey comes across, gets a good challenge in, and the ball bounces behind, and Olympiacos have a corner. So now the Norwich defence is getting a bit of a test at the end of this half. Corner's been taken quickly. I don't think a couple of Norwich players have realised yet from the left-hand side, but they've not got it into the mixer yet. Now with Ramon they will. In comes the cross. Sarah is there to head it away. Back it comes though for BL here. High looping ball from him into the penalty area. Real up and under that Musaris has to chase back out towards the right hand side. Kenny McLean shadows him. Musaris brings it under control, finds Kamara. Right edge of the penalty area for Olympiacos. Swings the cross in. That's good goalkeeping from Rangaskan. Comes, commands and catches the ball. And it remains 1-0 to Norwich City.
Yeah, just been quite quiet for him the whole half really, but when needed, on his front foot, ready to come and claim it. Took it comfortably, no real pressure on him, and got the ball back. Norwich lining up like they want to play it out on their own 18-yard box with 2 minutes to go in the half when they're 1-0 up. Common sense has prevailed.
Yeah, Gunn launches the ball up the field high. Larkis gets a foot to it for Olympiacos. Now Fasnacht trying to get there. Just leaves a challenge there on Ramon. Ramon had cleared it, and Fasnacht, I think, had gone for the ball but arrived late. And Olympiacos not particularly impressed with the Swiss international challenge there.
I think he's diving to get out of the way. I don't know how much contact is. Oh, he has.
Yeah, he's caught him. It's a foul, but I don't think it's malicious.
No.
Olympiacos clearly do, but I don't think it was. I think it was one of those where Ramon cleared it and Fasnacht arrived half a second later.
He's not sort of stamping towards him. He's almost put his leg up to block him, and as he's kicked through, he's caught the bottom of his studs.
Yeah, it didn't look like and of course a friendly, so you very rarely see yellow cards or anything dished out in a friendly, do you? And we certainly weren't there. And the game continues. We've got just a minute of stoppage time at the end of this half. We may not get a minute of stoppage time next Saturday. I don't know if you've seen the EFL this week. Have said that they are sort of changing the guidance that referees have to apply when it comes to stoppage time. They want the ball in play more, so we could be like it was in the World Cup in Qatar, where you're getting 8 and 9 minutes of stoppage time as a matter of course. So, and
adding it on for goal celebrations.
So that's
as well,
worth remembering if you're the sort of person that needs to get a train or a bus straight after the full-time whistle at Carrow Road.
I mean, what is it they do in rugby?
Now, here comes Hernandez. The ball's been played up high to him. He controls well. He gets brought down by Rodini, and it's a free kick for Norwich just over halfway really inside the Olympiacos half. Yes, a separate timekeeper in rugby.
Yeah, he literally said the ball goes out of play, stop the stopwatch. Once it's back in play, start it again, and then just blow the whistle on 90 minutes.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't get all those late stoppage time. You know, you were here for Forest.
I don't know if we mentioned it when we've been together, Paul. Can you remember Boxing Day, Nottingham Forest?
Well, I was gonna mention that later on, because João Carvalho, who's on the bench, was playing in that game for Forest.
Was he really?
Yeah. So
I know Hernandez was playing in that game.
He will certainly have memories of it. But yeah. Stoppage time, winners and equalisers, nothing quite like it, is there? So I suppose a greater chance of that this season with the late, the extra time we might be getting. We'll see how it all plays out. So at the end of this first half, Norwich have a free kick. They lead 1-0. It's on the left-hand side, 35 yards really from goal. Far too far out and wide for a shot. So Sarah will float it into the middle, and it's cleared just about. Jack Stacey's going to hit one, and the ball sails over the crossbar. And that brings to an end the first half, where you can hear by the reaction of the Norwich fans who are in the ground today. I think there's been much to be encouraged by. They've got the lead. Kenny McLean scoring with a deflected effort from 25 yards. One or two nervous moments at the back for Norwich, but Angus Gunn hasn't really had a serious save to make. And at the other end, we've seen Sargent and Barnes going through so much hard work as a front two. I think that could be a real asset to Norwich this season. And at times when Stacey's got forward, when Hernandez has got in a good position, we've seen some promising link-up play. So yeah, it's the last friendly. It's a work in progress, but 1-0 up at half-time. Encouraged?
I'm very encouraged. Again, what I will say, and you know, I'm not a big fan of it. There are people out there that maybe, I know there's no points on the line, but you get yourself in this position. You have a decent first half. You're 1-0 up, and people have worked hard to get you into that position, and you've looked relatively comfortable. And then you go in at half-time 1-0 because you've given the ball away 16 yards out from goal, just trying to play out from the back. I just not a fan of that. I'd like to see that go completely, and us to be a bit more direct. You know, using the fullbacks, playing out wide, and then opening them out that way, and then having a look into midfield. And I'm not saying lump the ball forward and hope Ashley Barnes can hold on to it and then bring people into play. I just get really nervy when we start playing the ball along our own 18-yard box, because we've seen 3 or 4 times in that half, luckily they haven't finished anything, where we've given it away really, really cheaply, and in a more competitive environment against a better strike force or whatever, you could find yourself conceding there. So,
but at the other end, there's been signs of
and some fluid passing moves, and I mean, I wouldn't say it's been really kind of exciting, free-flowing, attacking football, but we've certainly looked good in possession in the final third. I just don't think that we've got it in that position often enough.
Well, against the team who's going to be playing Europa League football in the not too distant future, Norwich City are being given what you'd want, I think, a week before the new season starts. A bit of a test, a bit of a workout, and they're coming through it at the moment, because at half-time a Kenny McLean deflected shot is the difference, and it's Norwich City 1, Olympiacos 0.
Thanks very much to Chris Gorham and Adrian Coote, our commentary team today for this pre-season friendly, which is currently going Norwich's way, and I think the chat there was spot on. I think Norwich, there's plenty to be positive about amongst Norwich fans, because Norwich did play some really good football, some good passing football. That attacking prowess is improving. It's not quite there yet, but it's actually improving. I thought Josh Sargent worked hard, did some really good stuff off the ball as well. Kenny McLean obviously got the goal, bit of a fortunate deflection, but he's looked pretty good. But I think Cooty's got an excellent point there. Just that stuff at the back where it's a little bit hesitant, and Gunny's kind of playing themselves into trouble, and perhaps those centre backs that are there, which is Ben Gibson, Shane Duffy, just need to work on that ball retention a little bit better. It's nothing new for Norwich fans. We certainly saw a lot of that under Daniel Farke, but one of the strengths, Chris, with Christoph Zimmermann, for instance, was his sort of comfort on the ball.
It reminds me, and I said this before the game, maybe it's because I've got my cricket head on at the moment, it's like watching Bazball, where you think, okay, they're not doing the thing that traditionally teams have done in this situation. If this comes off, it's going to be brilliant. Yeah. But if it doesn't, then they're going to end up with egg on the face. But maybe, we've seen that that's the way they want to go. We've been talking, haven't we, all towards the end of last season about want to see a more exciting Norwich, a different Norwich. Perhaps this is part of it, and it'll take them a little while to get through it. And I don't know, I've just spent so much of the summer watching the Ashes. I'm now in the mood that I want to see more. I want to see teams trying to do things a bit differently.
Sam Day will give us a full update in just a minute, but England just at tea, and this plays into what you're saying. Now there is a good lead there. It's 265 for 4, so the lead is 253. But they have lost a couple of big wickets there, and that's what happens. You're going to concede goals, but also you're probably going to score some.
You saw. Again, I know this is football, and we're trying to liken football with cricket, and in a way, it's not
always what we do at this time of year.
But you saw this Test match that's going on at the moment, and England rattled along in the first innings and lost a few wickets and ended up with their score. And then Australia tried to play proper Test cricket, went about it completely differently.
We all fell asleep.
They really played traditional Test cricket, and what happened? The two teams ended up pretty much on the same score. So
hilarious.
That's the thing, isn't it? There are more. Whichever sport there is, there's more than one way to do it. There are advantages and disadvantages of each way of playing, and once you've got used to watching it, you do have kittens sometimes when you see Norwich playing the ball on the edge of their own penalty area. But if that then starts something off that leads to an exciting, they didn't score many goals here last season. If one is going to lead to another, then you'll take it, won't you? It's going to be interesting to watch.
It is going to be interesting, and obviously, we've said this so many times on Canary Call. When Daniel Farke was the head coach of this football club, the whole point of doing it like that is for possession retention. It's keeping the ball, playing it short, keeping hold of it, and actually making something from it. So the stats suggest if you kind of whack it forward down a channel, then it's going to come straight back. So you can understand why they're doing it. I think there is a good argument to say that the players who are doing it, the centre-halves that are doing it, they just need to make sure that they hold on to that ball and make sure they make that pass, because if they lose it there, you're in big trouble. And that's always the debate about playing it out from the back. Interesting discussion. No doubt that'll come up in Canary Call when we kick that off next week. There's no Canary Call today because we thought let's just keep the powder dry. That will start next week. Quick word from Joe Dean. Joe, you've been watching this game with us, and it's quite positive for Norwich fans, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to remember this is pretty high-level opposition, as all of the friendlies have been against. You can't complain with winning. They've looked very solid when they've not had the ball. As we've been talking about, the time they look most like conceding is when they've got the ball at the back themselves. But it's a very experienced Norwich side. You don't think they're going to be a soft touch, which they have been recently. I think Josh Sargent was the youngest player out there in the first half, and he's 23. I think they're going to change that now, bringing on Omobamidele and John Rowe by the looks of it. But that's something for NCFC numbers maybe to have a look at. I think this is probably going to be one of the oldest 11s that Norwich have put out if this is the team that does start next week against Hull.
Yeah, Andrew Omobamidele is on the pitch. He'll bring the average age down a little bit. I can also see Johnny Rowe out there as well. We'll get back to Chris Gorham and Adrian Coote because they can give us exactly all the rundown of the substitution. So here we go, second half commentary. It's Norwich City 1, Olympiacos 0 in this pre-season friendly. Over to you, Chris. You can tell us who's on.
Yeah, 2 changes made by David Wagner at half-time. Really interesting ones as well, because this is a last opportunity for players to catch the eye, isn't it? And 45 minutes for Andrew Omobamidele, who's come on to partner Shane Duffy. in the centre of defence. So Ben Gibson has gone off, and Norwich's most recent signing, Christian Fastnacht, he's been taken off at half-time, and John Rowe comes on. John Rowe, 20 years old, he's made 18 first-team appearances for Norwich City. They've all been substitute appearances. He's yet to start a game, so you would like to think that might change as the season goes on. A couple of changes for Olympiacos as well, which we'll come on to, but I mean, hopefully that's not an injury to either of the players that have gone off, because we don't want that so close to the start of the season. But Adrian Coote, another chance for people to catch the eye here, isn't it?
Yeah, with next Saturday in mind as well. I was thinking at half-time might be completely wrong, but I just thought if we're going to make any changes at half-time, it might be to players that the manager isn't quite 100% set on starting players, and so I would then expect maybe some more substitutions as the second half sort of unfolded.
You'd expect that with friendlies, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's a couple of changes made by Olympiacos as well. I know they've taken off Rodini, and they've put on Androutsos, who's playing in the right-back position. One other change as well, which I will come on to. I think it's Kamara who's gone off in midfield, and Fortunis has come on. Fortunis scored against Rangers in their 3-1 win the other night. We're underway in the second half. Norwich in their yellow and green, attacking the Barclay end of Carrow Road, leading 1-0. Deflected effort by Kenny McLean. The difference between the sides, Olympiacos and their red and white striped shirts. They didn't muster a shot on target in the first half, so that says something for Norwich defensively, as Duffy plays the ball up towards Rowe, playing on the right wing. His opportunity to impress now, because it's to Barnes, who doesn't mind dropping back into the midfield and just picking up the ball and helping his team out when they've been under pressure. And back it goes eventually to Angus Gunn, who is going to get, we don't know if he's going to get the full 90, but he's certainly going to get the majority of this game. Omar Bamidele gives him a difficult back pass there, and then gets an Angus Gunn glare as Gunn comes out and clears with Masouras sniffing. Andrew Omar Bamidele on at half-time, and maybe not quite up with the pace of the game.
No, not at all. I don't even think he knew the player was there. I think he just sort of hopefully played blind to his goalkeeper, thinking he had loads and loads of time, and nearly paid the ultimate price for that.
Yeah, 1-0 Norwich lead. Olympiacos in possession. It's come across to Ramon on this left-hand side. Forward to one of the players who's come on at half-time. Norwich not able to hold on to possession in midfield, and here's Fortunis up towards the edge of the penalty area, plays it nicely into the box as a shot comes in, and it's just wide. That was Vrusai from the angle, broke into the penalty area, picked out by Fortunis, who seems to have made a difference in the opening couple of minutes since coming on. Lovely pass, and Vrusai, who had a really quiet first half, that's their best chance, and he's lashed it into the side netting. Yeah, fortunately for us, because he found himself in a really good position there, and should be hitting the target at the very least, but again, just comes from Norwich sloppiness. Goal kick hammered forward by Gunn. Barnes heads it on. Rowe has gone through the middle to try and get on the end of it, but it's been dealt with by the Olympiacos defence. Now well one up the field there from Giannoulis on Vrusai, and here's Barnes again doing what we want to see him doing a lot this season, just backing into Vrusai there, the Olympiacos player, and running up the pitch without being in proper control of the ball, and then being dragged down and winning a free kick for his team.
Yeah, it's just clever centre forward play, using his body to back into the defender so the defender can't win the ball. He did have options running alongside him out wide, but in the end took the foul, and now a chance for Norwich to put a decent ball into the box.
From the left hand side, Gabriel Sarra will take it. Norwich had a little scare at the start of this half. Might be one that'll just concentrate a few minds as they look to make a final impression before the real stuff starts. Sarra floats the free kick in from the left-hand side. Duffy challenges the goalkeeper. Looping header. Sargent turns it in. Norwich City have a second goal, and it's come from a set piece. And it was Shane Duffy who went up from the back, who won the first header, a towering header. It looped over the goalkeeper. It dropped into the 6-yard box. It may have had enough to cross the line, but Sargent made sure. It's Norwich 2, Olympiacos 0. The Greek side, particularly the goalkeeper, absolutely furious that he's not been given a foul there, but I think it was a fair challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely not a foul. It's no right to win that. I mean, the keeper's coming out to claim it. Definitely not a foul. He's got a good head on it, just in front of the goalkeeper, and then Sargent in and around just to finish off the pieces from inside the 6-yard box. But again, it's that physical presence, isn't it? It's the Ashley Barnes winning the free kick, enabling us to put a ball into the box, and then using that physical presence to, win a contested ball with the goalkeeper, pick up the knockdown, easy tap in for Sargent, and nice for him to get on the score sheet as well before we go into Saturday's game.
Well, they haven't confirmed the squad numbers for the new season, but for what it's worth, in pre-season, Josh Sargent is wearing number 9. He's always wanted to play in that number 9 position, the traditional sort of centre-forwards role. And That will just help his cause a little bit more. Getting goals. A proper striker's finish, sniffing in the 6-yard box, tapping it in. But it was encouraging from a set piece, really, as you say. You talked about you wanted to see Norwich bully teams this season and not be as easy to play against when you've got the opposition complaining they've been fouled.
Yep.
With Duffy going forward, that's sort of what you want to see, isn't it? As Rosaris comes forward and tries to get one back for Olympiacos, but Omid Bamadeli has done well to find Garn, and then they try to play a 1-2 and the ball hits the corner flag and goes out for a throw into Olympiacos. Gunn playing a reverse pass
football,
there.
Isn't it? I just the first bit he did really well. He's touch in front of him and sold the centre forward to buy himself a bit of space, but then almost a no-look pass to an invisible defender.
Well, it's fun to watch anyway. We've been asking for more exciting football at Carrow Road.
That's not exciting, that's just nerve-wracking.
Here's Barnes, plays the ball through the middle. Jonathan Rose made an intelligent run. He catches up with the ball now. He's 25 yards from goal, slides it nicely through to Sargent, who is offside. He's offside. It's a lovely finish from Sargent. The goalkeeper came out and Sargent delightfully lifted it over the goalkeeper Shalakis and into the net, but it did look offside. And sure enough, the flag went up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care that it's offside, because if that's what we've got to look forward to going forward, then, there's some exciting times ahead. Jonathan Rowe does brilliantly. Picks the ball up, positive, takes his man on, sees the pass. All right, yeah, he's a yard offside. Sargent doesn't know that yet because the ref hasn't blown his whistle. Keeper still comes out committed, dinks it over him. Lovely finish. All right, doesn't count, but looked great. See, that's excitement.
That's what you want to see.
That's worry and panic down there.
Well, maybe you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Norwich lead 2-0 against Olympiacos. Geoff Sargent scoring the second goal and very nearly having a third as well, but it was ruled out, I think, quite rightly for offside. But a really good effort from Ashley Barnes and then particularly Jonathan Rowe in the build-up to it. Good link-up from those two players. Ibora has it in the midfield for Olympiacos, and now they try to build something on the right-hand side. It's a good little run forwards here from Androustos, who came on at half-time. He's been taken out there, and it's a free kick.
And a yellow card, it looks like.
Are we going to see we don't see many
he's
of these
either pulled the card out, or it might
be
his little
spray that he's got out, or are we going to see the rarest of things, a pre-season booking for Onel Hernandez? Yeah, I think we are. Onel Hernandez is on a yellow card now in a pre-season friendly for bringing down the marauding figure of Thanasis Androustis, who's getting forward on the right-hand side for Olympiacos. We praised Hernandez in the first half for doubling up along with the fullback, doing his job defensively, and he's done it at the cost of a yellow card there. So Norwich lead 2-0, having scored from a set piece at the start of this second half. They now have a free kick to defend. Now the referee has got his spray out. It's out on the right-hand side. It's about 12 yards from the corner of the penalty area, really. On the right, there's a bit of pushing and shoving in the box involving Omid Bamadeli and Retsos. And the sort of friendly nature of this game has
I don't mind seeing this, because you look to see who sort of steps in, and Duffy, Ashley Barnes.
Yeah, this is a test of the metal now of what this new look Norwich City is made of. Maybe they've rattled Olympiacos because they feel that second goal shouldn't have stood. Free kick, which it looks like Fortunis might whip him with his right foot. The substitute does, curls it into the penalty area now, and Stacey is there, no chances at all, heads it behind, helps her on its way for an Olympiacos corner.
Yeah, again, just organised. It wasn't a bad delivery in, but just Norwich seemed to have the sort of dangerous areas covered, if you like, and each man picked up. So
Kostas Fortunis is going to take it. He's the captain, nearly 300 appearances for Olympiacos twice. He's been the Greek Super League's player of the season, and he plays this corner in towards the near post, dealt with by Giannoulis and then missed by Fortunis, and that's given John Rowe the chance to clear it up towards halfway, and Stacey it is who's made a break. Norwich is right back, the furthest player forward, and if he just got to that ball before Androustis, he would have had a clear run on goal from the halfway line, but the defender came across and got to it first.
Yeah.
But he's first look at Jack Stacey in a Norwich shirt. Obviously seen him playing against the Canaries before. He's tall, isn't he? He's well built for a fullback. You tend to think of fullbacks being a little bit more in the Max Aaron sort of mould, but he looks like a bit of a unit, doesn't he, Jack Stacey?
Yeah, and again, I haven't seen all the games, but from what I've heard, has had quite a handy pre-season as well.
Right hand side up towards the corner of the penalty area. Barnes takes over, swings it into the box. There's a back heel from Sargent, and it is a good one, but it just sends Hernandez slightly wide. Left edge of the penalty area. Onel Hernandez brings it out to the edge of the area now. He's got McLean behind him. Play towards Giannoulis on the left-hand side. Played in low. Onel Hernandez from the edge of the 6-yard box. Can't get the shot in. Sargent with his back to goal. Turns and shoots, and it's smothered. Back into the penalty area. Nice touch from Rowe to Jack Stacey. Can he get the shot away? He's crowded out of it. And eventually, it's scrambled to safety by Olympiacos. And there's a foul by Rowe and a free kick to Olympiacos. But some of the attacking play there, you can't fault it, can you?
No, not at all. Not at all. And just unlucky because nothing would quite break for them in terms of just sitting up for them to have a shot on goal. But everything else around that was really good to watch.
10 minutes into the second half. I think Jonathan Rowe has added something, isn't he? His little 10-minute cameo we've had so far has been impressive. Sargent is getting a few more chances after his goal in this second half, and Norwich lead 2-0. What can Olympiacos do to try and get back into it? Iborra in the midfield. There's a nice touch there from Brusai, who missed a glorious chance just before Sargent's goal to equalise for Olympiacos. It's back now with Retsos on halfway. The centre-back who was getting involved with Omobamidele for the last set piece. Retsos again takes a touch. And Norwich have got themselves well organised now. Everyone in their starting positions. Olympiacos are getting 2 or 3 substitutes ready to come on, including a goalkeeper by the looks of it. It's been shifted though to Fortunis, and the subs who came on at half-time. Outside him on this side is Ramon on the left, level with the Norwich penalty area. Jack Stacey does a good job on him, wins it for Norwich City and finds Rowe, who loses it on the edge of his own box and needs some help from Duffy, and then Omobamidele to clear, but it's not cleared with any great distance. And Olympiacos will sense they might have another chance, but great play again from Barnes, just getting his body in the way, 25 yards from his own goal, and breaking up that Olympiacos attack. One of the reasons Norwich perhaps didn't sign a defensive midfielder in the summer is because they know that Barnes can get back when they're under pressure and do that job, but they're under more pressure here. Musaris, central position from the edge of the D, shoots low, takes a deflection, Gunn saves.
Yeah, very similar to Kenny McLean one, only this one Angus Gunn has managed to get down and smother the ball. But yeah, it's just really handy to have a player that can do that, get hold of that ball in those areas where it's sort of flying around and bodies everywhere and everyone's a bit out of shape, to just get his foot on it, hold people off, and then just bring somebody in, slow it down.
I'm about to see why I never look forward to commentating on friendlies, particularly because I've just looked over towards the Olympiacos substitutes bench. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, subs ready to come on. So
we haven't seen much of Rodney.
Well, it's because he's gone off.
Oh, he's gone off. Yes. Oh, that'd be why.
At half-time, Rodini, the Brazilian right back, he was one of the first to come off at half-time. And he's replaced by Androutsos, who got fouled by Hernandez for the yellow card a moment ago. Norwich, oh, here we go. This is going to be something. Norwich are now getting at least 3 substitutes ready as well. This is going to be a tester for us, Cutie, to keep on top of all the changes. I suppose you expect that as we head towards the hour of the final pre-season friendly for Norwich City, but the game continues with Ramon on the left-hand side, gets it back again, level with the penalty area, swings the cross in, it's deflected off Stacey and behind for another Olympiacos corner. But Ramon, the fullback on the left-hand side, who likes to get forward. Well, Norwich have certainly got Springett,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ida and Paqueta ready to come on. Maybe Liam Gibbs as well. Here's Ramon. Corner's been taken short by Olympiacos. Laid off then for the cross to come in, but Giannoulis has come out towards this right back position and done a good job and made the challenge. Yes, when you get to about an hour into pre-season friendlies, you always get this, don't you?
Yeah.
It used to be like this when you don't see them so much now, but the old international friendlies used to be like this, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the last half an hour would be
change, and that's why I thought the half-time changes might just be the players that the manager's still a little bit on the fence over. You know, you can understand him being a bit undecided potentially over Jonathan Rowe and Fashnak, because for me, Jonathan Rowe's already done more in this half than probably we've seen out of Fashnak in the first half. But being a new signing and the manager knows him, there's a little bit of pressure on the manager maybe to play him.
Here's Sarah inside his own penalty area, found nicely by Gunn. Norwich playing their way out from the back there to good effect, and Sarah tries to play it forward, but it's deflected off the back of Iborra, but has nearly fallen for a Norwich player on the left hand side in the shape of Hernandez. Olympiacos don't really get it forward with any great conviction, and McLean goes sliding in. Good commitment there in a pre-season game to win it. Played up now towards Ashley Barnes, who is never not committed. He's won so many free kicks for his team, hasn't he, including the one they got the goal from. And what an asset he's going to be, just for moments like that.
And so pre-season friendly again, I know we've talked about it, in those close games or those flat games, or you know, it's just a little bit of something like that where 2 defenders are trying to get the ball off him and he's holding him off and wins a foul, even in a silly little area like that, just gets the crowd going.
Here we go, Tutu.
Right, okay.
Right, so Norwich are making several substitutes. What is making this all the more confusing is that lots of players are going over to have a drink as well. So Giannoulis has been replaced by Paqueta. All the players are going over there. We'll clear it up for you in a moment. But certainly Paqueta's come on. Gibbs has come on. Ida is replacing Sargent. Jack Stacey seems to be being replaced by, I think, Kellen Fisher. And I've certainly seen Springett come on as well. So, yeah, Fisher's now at right back. Paqueta, I think, has gone to left back. Oh, Nunez has come on as well. So Nunez has replaced Sarah in the midfield alongside McLean. Rowe has gone to the left.
No, left.
You've got Barnes and Ida up front.
Yeah.
And there's been, I was watching the Norwich changes, there has been a host of changes, I think, made by Olympiacos as well, which I have to admit I'm not on top of at the moment. But El Arabi has certainly gone on up front, and so Joe Carvalho. This will be interesting, because Carvalho, Portuguese player, former Nottingham Forest, El Arabi is regarded as their top striker, so that's going to be a bit of a test for the Norwich defenders now. But it's one of those now where any sort of rhythm will probably go from the game, because we've seen a series of substitutions made there by both sides, and the ball played forward immediately by Norwich, and it's one of the subs onto it straight away. Ida on this right hand side, doing well, bringing Tony Springett into it on this right hand side. Springett and Fisher, very youthful looking right hand side for Norwich now. And on the left hand side, Paqueta's playing left back, and he's got Jonathan Rowe in front of it. Here is Springett, who was on loan at Derby towards the end of last season. The Irishman battling away and doing well on the right wing for Norwich City, looking to get it towards Ida, who's just slightly behind him, and he couldn't control. And now they've got it back with Kamara, one of their substitutes who's come on for Olympiacos, Madi Kamara. He was on the bench for Roma in the Europa League final last season. Spent last season playing under Jose Mourinho, so maybe it'll be a bit of a sigh of relief for him to be away from all of that. Remember all the controversy after the Europa League final when they lost, and the English referee Anthony Taylor getting it in the net from Mourinho. He didn't get on in that game, Kamara, so that he would have been right alongside Mourinho while all that was going on. They've changed their goalkeeper as well, Olympiacos. They've now got Thanos Papadouis in goal, I think, the 19-year-old. He hasn't played a competitive game for them yet. Scored number 99.
Wow.
You don't see that very often.
That's I want number 9, but somebody's got it.
Well, he's the goalkeeper.
Oh. It can't be that then, can it?
Perhaps he does. Perhaps he's a frustrated centre forward. They're in possession with Retsos here, Olympiacos, one of those players who has stayed on. Paqueta, the Pole for Norwich, playing at left back, which is interesting, a winger by trade. He's not played any first team football
88
since last August.
Yeah.
Oh, the goalkeeper's 88, so I did him a disservice. They haven't changed the goalkeeper. It was the same one, Tulakis. There was a goalkeeper who looked like he was ready to come on a moment ago, but we'll see that probably later. Here's Fortunis on the left-hand side. Norwich 2, Olympiacos 0. Fortunis gets it into the penalty area, and Omar Bamideli swings a boot at it and does the job. Wide it goes. It'll be a corner to the Greek side. Now, what you don't want to see in pre-season is an injury concern. Have Norwich got one there? Duffy? Yeah, just being helped up. He's all right, thankfully. It's the last thing you want to see. I think it's just his boot would worked its way loose. Yeah. So, corner to Olympiacos, which Beale will take on the left-hand side with the left foot, testing the Norwich defence out. In it comes, header away. Picked up, though, by Olympiacos, and wide it goes to Fortunis on the left-hand side. Curled in, there's a header, straight at Gunn. Does well there, Gunn. Duffy appealing that he was fouled there as the ball came into the box, but it was well claimed by the goalkeeper. El Arabi, who's come on, a Moroccan international. He's the striker, 36 years old. He went and played club football in Qatar for a while. 102 goals in 89 appearances he got in Qatar. He's got a prolific career record, nearly as good as your record playing for what? Hemsby Veterans, was it last season?
Hemsby Veterans, Hemsby Reserves, yeah.
Ball played across by Norwich City towards the left-hand side. Springett is chasing it. Can he keep it in play? Oh, he's played offside. He did keep it in play over the left-hand side. He did really well because he looked second favourite there for a long time. But as soon as he got to the ball, the flag went up, and a good burst forward from Tony Springett was all to no avail. So Norwich lead 2-0 against Olympiacos, the 47-time Greek champions. And we've reached that point in pre-season where everyone's just got to almost restart and remember who's around them and what team they're playing for, because we've already seen another change from Norwich City. Rowe has come back to the right wing and Springett has gone over to the left-hand side. But really interesting to see Paqueta playing as a fullback, because they do have Sam McCallum on the bench, but actually they've decided, or David Wagner's decided, he wants another look at Paqueta playing there. as the ball is knocked forward by Olympiacos. Gunn will come out and deal with that. Poqueta, on loan to Birmingham at the start of last season, got injured and actually hasn't played any first-team football since August, so...
Yeah, needs lots and lots of minutes.
A shock of blonde hair. And he's gone right. He couldn't be any more left-back if he tried. He's right over on the touchline over there, isn't he? Gunn, I think, is going to drop-kick this ball forward, though, for Norwich City, and does, over the halfway line. Looking for Rowe on this right-hand side. Rowe wins the challenge really well there against Ramon, and then knocked off balance, but keeps going. The ball takes a ricochet infield, where Olympiacos win it. And it's good play there from Fortunis to get around Nunez and then play it towards this left-hand side, and Ramon, who's well forward. Back into the midfield, and Ibori. And now Madik Kamara. Deep-lying midfield play. Plays it towards the right-hand side, and this is Androutsos, who came on at half-time. He's already had one thumping challenge from Onel Hernandez, which earned the Cuban a yellow card. But it's Olympiacos who will stroke it around. They're 2-0 down against Norwich City in the bright Carrow Road sunshine. Still got 25 minutes of this pre-season friendly to go. And Ramon will knock it back here to Ibora. And then Ibora gives it to Retsos. And that to Androutsos on this right-hand side. He's got Carvalho and El Arabi in the middle. Cross over hit. Gunn tries to pluck it out of the air, but at full stretch couldn't quite get there. And so a chance for Kellen Fisher to take possession. Just 19, signed from Bromley. Initially to train with Norwich's younger age group setups, the under-21s. But here he is in first-team action because he's been singled out by David Wagner over the summer for praise for the way he settled in. Fortunis coming forward here. Olympiacos on the attack. Crosses up for Androutsos on the right-hand side. Nunez gets a foot to it. It loops up in the air, and Gunn does his best but can't stop the ball from going behind. And Olympiacos have a corner. They've won 6 corners in this game. Norwich haven't had a corner yet, but they do have a goal from a set-piece. Josh Sargent tapping in after Shane Duffy initially got his head to Gabriel Sarra's delivery early in the second half. 2-0 Norwich lead, and now a corner to defend.
Have we still got a set-piece team?
Well, Alan Russell left, didn't he? Midway through last season, the previous set-piece coach. Corner being delivered by Olympiacos. It's run towards the penalty spot and hammered away by Ashley Barnes. There was a new coach brought into the Norwich setup during the summer, Narcis Pelak, the Spanish coach who was previously with Huddersfield, as many of the Norwich coaching staff were. But his official title is first team coach. Andy Hughes is still involved as well, so he was the one who was taking on the responsibility of set pieces towards the end of last season. And they've got one from a set piece today, so they'll certainly take that. Poqueta plays the ball back to Gunn, who clears upfield. Rowe sets off after it, putting Androutsos under pressure, and he's got it back to his goalkeeper, Shalakis. 2-0 Norwich lead. In terms of big clues that we might learn from this game, with who David Wagner might start and all of that, that's probably gone now with all the changes that have been made, but an opportunity for these players to stake a claim. One of those, Fisher, who's just had the ball knocked over his head there for João Carvalho, the former Nottingham Forest player, who did play in the Forest team that surrendered a 3-goal lead here on Boxing Day 2018 when Adrian Coote was with us.
I remember it.
Norwich have broken the play up. Spring it breaks over the halfway line. Nice reverse pass to Ida, who's just come out towards the right wing. Adam Ida rides one challenge, brings it towards the edge of the penalty area. He's got options, but he's gone back. Sort of safe option to McLean. Now on to Nunez, 25 yards out. Nunez plays it into the D, but it's easily cut out there by Olympiacos. And a chance for the Greek side to break. Beale gets it back to Ramon. And now on the edge of his own penalty area, it is going to be cleared towards the right-hand side. And Androutsos. Norwich have got themselves well set. We've got a Greek television commentator sitting just to our right-hand side, and I was talking to him before the game, and I said, will Olympiacos bring many fans with it being a friendly? And he said, oh, no, they won't. But you can hear them
62
on our effects
of them.
mic. Well, it's a nice little bunch, actually, just down to our right-hand side where the away fans usually are, making a good deal of noise. The Olympiacos away support, all standing, as far as I can see, over on the right-hand side. Where we are, we have to sort of slightly crane our necks over and have a look at the area of the stand where they are as the ball is played forward by Olympiacos, but nothing for them to cheer here because they've got to crane their necks towards the left-hand side, and there they are, all clapping their hands above their heads. They're enjoying themselves.
Yeah, and so obviously Olympiacos are over here for a few games. Did you say they had Rangers?
Played Rangers on Wednesday. Probably a fair few English-based supporters as well. And what's good is the Norwich City fans are now responding to the Olympiacos fans. Look, and there's this side of the Barclay end that's nearer to the away fans are clapping their hands above their heads, and it's just getting the atmosphere going for a friendly.
Because like you said, with the substitutions, it's just sort of fell flat this last 5 minutes.
Yeah, as you'd expect. This is what always happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Friendlies. 20 minutes to go. Barnes is fouled. Even the sun's gone in now. Look, there is one Norwich fan who's gone shirtless for the occasion. I'm worried that he has peaked a bit too soon. Standing over on the...
I see him.
The right-hand side of the Barclay stand as we look at it. It's only pre-season, mate. Come on. You've got to keep something back for next week.
I'm not putting my shirt back on until Norwich score at home.
What's it going to be like if Norwich do get a goal? Now, Retsos, the referee has got some sorting out to do here. He's calling Retsos and Ibora, two of the Olympiacos players, over to him. Not quite sure why. Now we've got Retsos being talked to again. I think he's not happy, the referee, with the challenge that Retsos just made on Ashley Barnes. Norwich have got a free kick for it. Barnes is fine. The referee sort of gesticulating that he wasn't too impressed with the elbow, but
no, and there was a little bit of afters as well. I think they just sort of squared up and said a few things, and then
cards have been kept in pockets on this occasion for the referee, Sam Barrett.
But that's what you want. We talked about it, didn't we? Just in other players' heads, and get them distracted by the physicality that you bring.
And you can do a bit of that in friendlies, can't you?
Yeah.
Just get yourself trained as you're going to play, I suppose, is the message, isn't it?
Yeah.
20 minutes to go. BBC Radio Norfolk will have reaction from Norwich City fans after this game. Your thoughts on who's caught your eye today? Who should be in that Norwich City starting 11 next week? And Norwich play Hull, and it'll be more intense than this. But if Norwich are 2-0 up in exactly a week's time, nobody will be complaining. We won't take anything for granted, but we'll certainly not be complaining when Norwich start the Championship season next Saturday, and you can hear that with us on BBC Radio Norfolk. Poqueta, Norwich's stand-in left back. He's going to take the throw in, chest it down, over on that far side, knocked it over his man there, Poqueta, but then Kamara comes and takes it off him. And now Olympiacos are in possession on their right-hand side. They've played one in behind the Norwich defence on that right wing. Carvalho drives it across, El Arabi going for it, but it's a really good sprawling diving header away from Duffy. Now Olympiacos build on the left-hand side. Beale runs into Kellen Fisher, and the 19-year-old was with Bromley last season, deals with it well and suddenly finds Ashley Barnes back on into his own penalty area. Forward it comes. Carvalho tries a spectacular shot from the corner of the penalty area, and the reaction of Carrero will tell you that went high, very high over the crossbar. Another substitution, that's just what we need now.
Here we go.
Olympiacos are going to make another change. And they're taking off Ibora, the 35-year-old, four-time Europa League winner. And Inbom Hwang is coming on, a South Korean international who played in all 4 of South Korea's games at the World Cup last year. Ended up losing to Brazil in the last 16. And he comes. Looks like he's going to play in that midfield. And it's going to allow Muddy Kamara to go slightly further forward. 2-0. Goal kick for Norwich, which Gunn isn't going to take. Duffy is going to take the goal kick and pass it to Gunn in the 6-yard box.
Here we go.
He plays it out to Nunez on the edge of the area, and then wide to Fisher in the right back position. And now Olympiacos swarm around Norwich City, and it's played to Duffy, who brings it out to the right hand side and then thinks about it and then plays it straight against El Arabi, and it ends up breaking to McLean, and now back to Nunez on the edge of the penalty area. You see what they're trying to do. They take the short goal kick, try to invite the opposition onto them, and then look to switch the play, don't they? But they weren't quite able to do it there. They have now played it up the field for a quick free kick. Rowe chasing it on the left hand side, and he'll keep it in play, level with the penalty area. Can Norwich get a third goal here? It's Rowe, one of the substitutes, bringing it into the penalty area from the left to the byline. Can he cut it back? He's got tackled, and Norwich have their first corner of the game. But certainly, having come on at half time, I'd say Jonathan Rowe is one of those players who has not done himself any harm in terms of some league minutes as the season goes on.
No, and that's what you want to see him doing, ball at his feet, squaring up defenders and just looking to take him on and create something.
So we've got a corner to Norwich, first of the game, taken short by Nunez to spring it. Now Nunez gives it to Shemi Poqueta. He angles the ball into the penalty area, easily headed away. Fisher gathers and goes back to goalkeeper Gunn, who's with Olympiacos having brought everybody back. Gunn is almost in the centre circle as he floats the ball forward towards the right hand side. I had to look twice there because suddenly here's Andrew Omobamidele as the right winger, because he hadn't quite settled back into position from the set piece. Fisher back to Duffy, who Norwich are going to be without their club captain Grant Hanley for, you would think, at least the first half of the season. And on the evidence of what we've seen this afternoon, Duffy is filling that Grant Hanley-shaped hole pretty well, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
A former teammate of Hanley's, of course, at Blackburn, Irish international. He's played... interesting to see him and Owen Vamadeli playing together because they'll know each other from the Ireland setup. And Adam Eder as well. Here's Duffy for Norwich. Plays the ball up towards Eder on halfway, but it's actually Olympiacos head that wins it. Barnes there, still ratting around, winning possession. Finding Paqueta. And now it's Rowe who gets tackled and the ball goes out for Norwich throw. One thing that's really stood out for me when it comes to Ashley Barnes is how often we've seen him. He's 33, so you don't necessarily expect a player of that age to be as mobile as he is, but the amount of times he's back in and around his own penalty area, breaking opposition attacks up, it's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, he just looks a fit, strong lad.
He's going off now, and Liam Gibbs is coming on. And I think we are going to see Sam McCallum as well. And this will be interesting because Duffy is going off and McCallum's coming on, so I don't quite know who's going to go in at centre-back here.
Or up front.
Well, Sargent will be up front. Sargent's gone off. Eder, will be up front, won't he?
Yeah.
Is McCallum going to go and play centre-back? It looks that
like
way.
It, yep.
So you've now got a Norwich back four of Paqueta at left-back, Fisher at right-back, McCallum and Omavamidele in the centre of the park. I would say I've gone from seeing a starting 11 in this game that you thought you might see against Hull to a back four that I'd be very surprised if we see against Hull at any point. But it's minutes, it's trying things out, it's getting players out there. That's what pre-season's all about.
Absolutely, yeah.
And importantly, those players who started the game, hopefully, at least, have got through unscathed. No obvious injury problems anyway, although there were 2 changes made at the interval by David Wagner. Here's Nunez passing the ball out and giving it away, and an opportunity here for Olympiacos to get it into the penalty area, but it wasn't the best of passes forward from Fortunis. It's gone over the head of El Arabi and behind for a goal kick.
I really thought Nunez was going to go on to be a really good player for Norwich. You know, when he first arrived and some of the things I saw him do in some of the games, I just thought he had that something, but I don't know. It doesn't even look at the moment as if he's in the starting 11 and got quite a lot of work to do.
Well,
we know what he can do, but it's just that consistency of it, I guess, is it?
We've made the comparison before with Mario Vrancic and Marco Stiefman, whose first seasons with Norwich were, they didn't necessarily stand out, but in their second seasons, once they'd got used to the style of football and the English football, they were sensational. And you're right, Nunez, the goal he got last season against Birmingham, terrific strike. There's a player there, and he just passes the ball forward. Eder then gets dragged back, and Norwich win a free kick. But it's about consistency and finding your role in the team and being able then to produce it often enough, isn't it? Free kick, Norwich have won. On the left-hand side, halfway inside Olympiacos territory. Different sort of position from where they scored the goal, slightly further infield. But it would be an opportunity. Well, they haven't got Barnes or Duffy to aim for anymore, and suddenly you look at the Norwich attacking lineup for a set
quite
piece.
Small now.
Oh, Vamadeli and Eder, but apart from that, there isn't a lot, is there, in terms of height?
You just challenge, make it difficult for the defender, and then pick up any second balls.
There's the delivery towards the far post, headed into the 6-yard box by McLean, cleared out by Olympiacos, and they've got one player up the field here, and it's Fortunis, and he's raced onto it, and he's got in behind the Norwich defence, tries to play it into the penalty area. Paqueta gets a touch on it, that takes the sting out of the cross, and goes through to Garner. And for Paqueta, who is quick, we know that, managed to get back and actually help his team out there because they were under big pressure.
Yeah, just left alone on the halfway line, nobody near him. I think Callum Fisher was in front of him, but nobody behind him, and once that ball come over, he was on his own to run.
So I'm just
towards goal.
It's changed so much, the Norwich team in this game. I'm just looking, so in terms of the players who are on for 90 minutes, it's Angus Gunn and Kenny McLean, and that's it now, isn't it?
Yeah.
The other 9 have all changed. Tim Krul is on the bench if they want to give Gunn a bit of a rest at any point. Other than that, I think all the subs have come on, so at least one of them is going to get 90 minutes. Well, the Kenny McLean will get 90 minutes. I don't think they're going to bring Krul on in midfield, are they? Unless David Wagner really does want to try something out. 12 minutes to go, and it is 2-0 to Norwich City. Olympiacos coming forward. Nunez intercepts well in midfield. McLean takes on the running, plays it out towards the left-hand side. Eder is waiting for it. He tries to drive forward, gets tackled, wins a throw in for his team. Liam Gibbs has almost gone off the centre forward there while Eder went out to the left hand side. Gibbs, one of those who broke through last season. as it stands, I've noticed something that could be quite interesting this season. Liam Gibbs moved from Ipswich to Norwich City. He turns 21 on the day of the East Anglian derby.
Wow.
But it may get moved, of course, for TV purposes before then. But his 21st birthday is East Anglian derby day, Liam Gibbs. Is the script written? That's months away. Let's not worry about that yet. Here come Olympiacos on the left-hand side with Ramon. And now it's with Fortunis in the midfield and the Korean Hwang. And now the Greek side have it inside their own half with Ratsos. So one of those who, on the Greek side, who is going to play 90 minutes by the looks of it. Kamara falling over. Perhaps he's taken a knock there or pulled something, because for no apparent reason he seemed to hit the deck while in possession of the ball. And McCallum is going to put the ball out of play because it is a friendly. There's no point trying to play on while the opposition have got a player down injured. It's almost fairly innocuous there, but Muddy Kamara went down. Yeah, the Guinea international. An unused sub in the Europa League final for Roma, where he was on loan last season.
Just holding his left ankle.
Yeah, that's a sore one. Whether he took a kick on it wasn't obvious from here. He just sort of... Well, yeah, he was off balance, wasn't he? Sort of tripped himself over, and then McLean went in to try and win the ball, and perhaps made contact with him. He's up on his feet. I think he's going to be okay, but it was a bit of a sore one there. 10 minutes to go. And then we can really start the countdown to the Championship season. 2-0. I think what you've seen this afternoon, given the strength of the opposition, you've got to be satisfied, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. And, I don't want to say it 10 minutes to go. The clean sheet, I think, it's only a pre-season friendly and they haven't really offered a huge amount up top. But you just... this mentality of not wanting to concede or let the opposition in on any game, friendly or not, is just a handy mentality to have that will serve us well throughout the season. I don't care that it's a friendly, you're still not going to score against us. So they haven't kind of let their standards slip or anything. They'll be absolutely keen to keep.
There's another player down here for Olympiacos in the centre circle. I'm not sure what's happened there. And Rowe has gone down as well. So the ball was nowhere near those players. It was back on towards the edge of the Norwich penalty area, and Rowe and Androustos were both on the halfway line. And then Androustos has gone down, and once the player stopped, Rowe has gone down as well. So I can only assume that off the ball they must have run into each other. Norwich medical team are on, just making sure Jonathan Rowe is okay, because for all we've talked about in terms of tactics and clues about how solid Norwich are, and that's what you look for. The one thing you don't want in any friendly, never mind the last one, is an injury.
No.
And actually the Greek player
looks in much worse shape than Rowe does.
He does. He's not got up yet. Rowe is up on his feet, but I've not seen a replay or anything of it, so it's not clear what actually happened there. But the fact that the two of them have gone down, can only assume that off the ball they've run into each other. There's no sort of unhappiness towards Jonathan Rowe from any of the Olympiacos players, so it's the body language and the reaction of those on the pitch would suggest that that's just a sort of accidental clash. So while Androustos is getting some treatment, let's just remind you that we've got every Norwich City game live on BBC Radio Norfolk this season, starting next Saturday against Hull City at Carrow Road. We'll be bringing you the scrimmage. That will be back on its new slot of Monday evenings from 6 o'clock with Rob and Chris Reeve, who's joining our BBC Radio Norfolk team from the Monday after the first game of the season. We're not doing a Canary call tonight. That will be back next Saturday, but that's not to say we wouldn't welcome your thoughts. If you want to get in touch with us after this game, over the final part of the show between now and 6 o'clock, we'd love to hear what your hopes are, what your thoughts are. Anyone who's really impressed you for Norwich City, anybody who you think absolutely should be in the team. I'm pleased to say that Androustos is going to be okay. Didn't look particularly nice for him there for a while, but he's being led away towards the far side, and Jonathan Rowe is going to be okay as well. Still got 7 minutes of this one to go, but it's got the feeling that if the referee blew the final whistle now, no one would really mind.
No, that's it, yeah.
It's funny how the momentum, once you get to those substitutions, and I know the players on the pitch want to make an impression, but you do just feel that as a contest, whatever happens now, it'll be, well, when until the substitutions, Norwich were 2-0 up, and that will be the part of the game that David Wagner wants to concentrate on. Hopefully we'll get to speak to David Wagner after the game and bring that to you before 6 o'clock. Perhaps we'll get a chance to catch up with one of the Norwich players as well. That's what we hope to do, and bring you that during the final part of the show. We'll hear from Norwich City supporters who've been here inside the ground today, see whether they are feeling more optimistic after seeing Norwich hopefully win this game. They're 2-0 up, 6 minutes to go. Here's Ramon, who has played since the start. Back to his goalkeeper, Soulakis, who's also played since the start. I don't think he's particularly covered himself in glory with either of the goals. Soulakis. Good tackle from Jonathan Rowe, brilliant. They were just trying to break forward on the right-hand side where Olympiacos, and Rowe has stuck a foot out, won the ball and carried it forward deep into Olympiacos territory. Pochetta getting involved on the left-hand side. Back it comes now to McLean, but McLean can't quite pick out a teammate, and Norwich now are at risk of a counter-attack. Here's Hwang through the midfield, the Korean international. Gets it towards this right-hand side, and Fortunis. Back infield to Hwang. Hwang's halfway inside the Norwich half. Norwich now have got players back, everyone in fact back behind the ball. That's really good how they've, even in this late stage of the game, read the danger and got back to try and dig in defensively. But Olympiacos may test them with Hwang, a looping ball towards the edge of the box. Rose there to head it away. And out it goes for a throw into Norwich City in their left-back position. That's, again, you just look at, beyond the result, you look at players doing what they're supposed to do well, and I think David Wagner, he's wanting to make Norwich more solid than they were last season. And you said earlier on, Olympiacos haven't provided much of a threat. Well, I wonder how much of that is down to the disciplined defensive work of this Norwich City squad today. Yeah. I think the biggest threat to us defensively today has been ourselves at times, in the kind of way that we've tried to play out from the back sometimes, and I do get sometimes that it is on and it will work, and you can get out well that way, but other times I feel like we're setting ourselves up to give the ball away in a really dangerous position, but certainly against their attack, what they have offered up today, they've handled everything really, really well. Gunn hammers the ball forward on this occasion. Eder gets underneath it and heads it on, and Rose made a burst in behind the defence, and he's offside.
I thought he was.
He finishes brilliantly, John Rowe. That's a lovely finish from the youngster.
Yeah.
It's such a shame that doesn't count. Norwich have had 2 goals ruled out for offside, but on both occasions the flags were up long before the final shots were taken. But
my first thought was that he was offside.
Yes.
But again, I still wanted him to finish it. Like, I don't care that he was offside. He's shown there that he can finish under pressure.
You do get, every pre-season I think, watching Norwich City, you get one player who turns up and suddenly looks like he's eaten his Weetabix over the summer, and you sort of think, oh, he's a different player. And I've only seen this 45 minutes of Jonathan Rowe this summer, but that was, I think he's been impressive.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I think he's had a good half.
I remember seeing with Todd Cantwell that the first season Norwich were about to play in the Premier League under Daniel Farke. Cantwell came back and you suddenly thought, whoa,
yeah,
he stepped up.
Yeah.
And so it proved. Be interesting to see whether let's not heap too much on Jonathan Rowe. Let's not,
we keep having that conversation with Adam Eder as well, don't we?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Just waiting for that season for him to really kind of kick-start things into gear for himself, because he's going to run out of seasons.
Rowe is a young man who's never started a game for Norwich City, so
no.
We've got to remember where we are.
That will change.
I would not be at all surprised. Here's Eder tussling away up top and winning a free kick for his team. That's really good from Adam Eder. He perhaps hasn't had the return of goals that he would have hoped for since becoming a regular in the Norwich City starting 11. That said, he's only started 19 league games, Eder. A lot of his appearances for Norwich have been as a substitute, and he's on a free kick there.
And also from his own development, I mean, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes at Colney, but what does Ashley Barnes do in terms of bringing a player like Adam Eder on? What can he help him with? What can he show him in terms of receiving the ball, holding the ball up? That might benefit him, having somebody that's been there and done it around him.
2.5 minutes to go. Norwich 2, Olympiacos 0. BBC Radio Norfolk, and it's a Norwich free kick, just not far away from the left corner of the penalty area as they look at it. Pochetta and Nunez standing over it. Omar Bamadelli, McLean, Eder among those players in the penalty area. Nunez it is, who's going to have a go for goal, and it's missed the target. I think the goalkeeper, Soulakis, will feel that he had it covered, but he's capable of the spectacular, isn't he, Nunez? We know that.
Yeah.
That wonderful goal he got against Birmingham. In fact, he's scored 2 goals at Carrow Road in his first season with the club, Nunez. They were both in the same game. The brilliant goal against Birmingham, and then one that was from much closer range. But they've got 2 today, Norwich. They lead 2-0 against Olympiacos, and the ball has gone back to Soulakis in the Olympiacos goal. Not long left of this one. I doubt there'll be too much stoppage time. And Norwich fans can go off and hopefully look forward to the return of league football to Carrow Road next Saturday. We'll be there, of course, on BBC Radio Norfolk. It's with Omar Bamadelli on the edge of the penalty area, his own box that is. He gives it to McCallum, who's been a centre-back since coming on. Back it goes to Gunn, and the Norwich City goalkeeper lifts it towards the halfway line. It's eventually brought into control there by Nunez. Shuffles it forward to Springett. Nice ball back from Springett under pressure towards Nunez, who does well to hold off a couple of challenges and find Kenny McLean. Well, he's going to get his 90 minutes in the midfield, and Angus Gunn as well is going to get 90 minutes. That aside, the Norwich team has changed a lot during the afternoon, as you would expect in a pre-season game. I wonder how close the side we've seen today will be to the one that starts next Saturday. 30 seconds of normal time to go, and a little chorus of On the Ball City, slightly half-hearted perhaps from the Barclay end, but at least it's a way of just reminding the players that they're here, and next week it all starts and they'll want to be singing
much fuller, much louder,
of course,
much more anticipation, and buckle up.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be another one of those 46 games plus whatever cup ties there are. It's not going to be dull, is it, with Norwich City? There's always going to be stuff to talk about. There always is. And they are at least going to go into it with a final victory under their belts in pre-season by the looks of it. Paqueta looking for Rowe. Rowe takes a tumble, no foul. Throw-in goes the way of Olympiacos. How much? Fourth official is going to... 3 minutes of stoppage time we're going to get. OK, 3 minutes of stoppage time. So 3 more minutes for somebody to play their way into the team on the first day of the season. Nunez putting Hwang under pressure. Hwang skillfully holds him off, and then we'll play it towards the left-hand side, and it's with Ramon for Olympiacos. Good challenge from McLean on halfway. Stealing the ball from Carvalho and finding Rowe. Rowe, who's now playing towards the left-hand side again. Rides a couple of challenges, gets caught by Kamara. Free kick. And then he stands up and he squares up to Retsos, who I don't think Paganatios Retsos has particularly enjoyed his afternoon in Norfolk, because there's 2 or 3 times he's been squaring up to Norwich players. He's got
been terrorised.
One of his other teammates there who's gone to his aid. Interestingly, the other player at the back there has got number 26 on his back. You can see that, can't you? Well, they gave us the official team sheet earlier, and there is no number 26 on it, so I don't know who that is. I can only assume that it might be Freire, the other substitute who's not come on.
Let's say it's him.
There's no 30 on there, but yes, there's a 26 on the pitch that isn't on the team sheet, which it doesn't really make it that easy for us, does it? But anyway, free kick for Norwich City to end this game in style, perhaps. It's about 25 yards, maybe slightly more than that, to the left of centre. Nunez standing over it.
Rob knows something we don't. He's filming this.
Well, let's see. Let's see whether the Barclay end is going to be sent off towards the season with a pre-season moment to remember. Marcelino Nunez doesn't mind a bit of the spectacular. He hits a dipping free kick. Oh, just wide. Not far off target, that from Nunez. A round of applause from the Norwich fans who are here.
Yeah, from that range as well. I mean, the keeper didn't want to leave it, and
just the advertising hoardings behind that goal are very close, aren't they, to the back of the net, and as it bounced back out, I just wondered, but no, Nunez had not quite got it on target. But Norwich get a free kick next week against Hull, and he's on the pitch. Well, he scored against Hull from a free kick, didn't he, last season, and he's done well to win the ball out the field here and turn it into the path of Ida on the right hand side. Can Norwich finish with a flourish here? Ida has just overrun the ball against this mystery number 26, and it's going to be a goal kick to Olympiacos, which should just about do us. Adrian Coop. Norwich 2, Olympiacos 0. We've got 10 seconds of the stoppage time to go. Referees are enjoying it enough to keep things going. We must almost be up now for Norwich's pre-season, and that is the end of Norwich's pre-season campaign. They've ended with a win at Carrow Road, and an encouraging performance, and it's been very well received by the Norwich City supporters inside the ground this afternoon. They've seen their team come up against a side who will be playing Europa League football in the next few weeks, and Norwich have stood up to the task well. A lot to be optimistic about, a lot to be encouraged by, not least the number of times they were forced to sort of puff their chests out and show their newfound strength of character that David Wagner has been hoping to build. Ashley Barnes, Shane Duffy, some of the new signings central to that. The goals, though, coming from 2 old favourites. Kenny McLean with a deflected shot from 25 yards in the first half. Josh Sargent tapping after a set piece that ended with Shane Duffy looping a header goalwards, and Sargent helped it over the line. So a 2-0 win for Norwich City. Yes, there were some nervy moments at the back, but Olympiacos barely mustered a shot on target. Perhaps that's a sign that Norwich City are going to be more difficult to play against in the Championship next season, which if you were to put the two things at the top of the demands of Norwich City after last season, it was be more difficult to play against and score a few more goals, and they've done both of those things today.
Yeah, they have as well. And obviously our home form over the course of the whole of last season will need to be improved on from last season if we've got any hopes of having a successful season. But I should imagine a lot of boxes ticked for the manager, stuff that potentially he might still be unsure about, stuff for them to go and work on now for the next week, because the next time they're out on this pitch will be for real.
Really impressed by the work rate of Ashley Barnes and Josh Sargent as a front two, the extra fitness work that has been going on, the character of those two strikers. There are going to be a lot of defensive lineups in the Championship who are not going to get a minute's piece this season. That's clear, isn't it? The rest of the side, did anybody else perhaps unexpectedly catch your eye today, Adrian? Was there anybody who you think might have played their way into the team?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Rowe come on and put in a really handy performance. He seemed really positive in possession of the ball and just looks like he could create something. And he's a little bit different to Hernandez. I think he's a little bit more lively. I just want him to get minutes and more opportunities to do that, so he can start believing in himself a little bit more, because it almost sometimes feel like he hesitates a little bit or is a little bit unsure about it. But once he's got the ball at his feet, he's got the skills, he's got the speed. You keep taking defenders on time and again, and you can cause absolute carnage.
So there's your pre-season. Norwich City 2, Olympiacos 0, and it's on to the real stuff in 7 days' time when Norwich City meet Hull here at Carrow Road. But for what it's worth, they've ended pre-season with a good workout and a satisfying win against a side who will be playing in Europe in the not too distant future. Goals from McLean and Sargent. Norwich City 2, Olympiacos 0.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Chris, plenty of encouragement for Norwich fans. And you asked Cootie about it, and we're going to have Cootie with us for a few minutes in the last hour of our programme. I think, to be fair, Johnny Rowe is the one you'd actually think, can he play his way into that team? Well, he probably has today, because if it's a straight swap for him or O'Neill, if you judge it on today's performance, which doesn't always go into that, of course they'll look at training this week as well, but he was certainly more effective than O'Neill.
He was, but he didn't come on for O'Neill, he came on for Fasnacht.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So Fasnacht, the new signing, was taken off at half-time, and on came Rowe, and I think it's one of the decisions that David Wagner has got to make, in that we know what Hernandez can do. We know Fasnacht is an experienced player and scored the other day, didn't he, on his debut, and clearly is a player that David Wagner knows well. But yeah, if you're looking for players who really caught the eye and really made you think, oh, Dave kicked on since we last saw them, it would be Jonathan Rowe. I mean, David Wagner is not going to judge it entirely on the last 45 minutes of pre-season. He's got another week of training. He will have seen and watched very closely all the other friendlies and all the other pre-season training as well. But yeah, just on the very shallow evidence that we've seen, 45 minutes of Jonathan Rowe against Olympiacos, he deserved the goal. It's a shame it was signalled offside, but he finished brilliantly. And there's a player who, as I mentioned earlier on, has never started a game for Norwich City. One thing I'm not one to stick my neck out, this early in the season, Rob, but we will see Jonathan Rowe's first Norwich City start before too long. Right. I'll give you that. There you go. How's that for a pre-season prediction?
Let's
go
for it.
Boldest, is it?
It's not the boldest, but it's a prediction. We'll have to hold you to that one, Chris. Well, Chris is going to go down and get some reaction. We'll play that in the final hour of the programme. We haven't got a canary call today, as we said earlier. We're going to keep the powder dry for that, for when it really matters next week. This time next week, we'll be kicking off canary call. Of course, Hull City, the opponents in the Championship, live here on BBC Radio North. But we still have got plenty to come in this hour, including the reaction that Chris will get. No doubt he will definitely speak to David Wagner, the Norwich City head coach, and hopefully a player as well. Maybe Johnny Rowe. We spoke to him at Kings Lynn, and he was actually great to talk to. Really interesting character. Cootie will be with us for a few minutes as well. We're going to hear from the fans in just a moment. Then I am going to pop down to the outside the new Lion and Castle bar. We've got a couple of Norwich fans lined up, a couple of well-known voices who are going to talk to me about what they think ahead of the new season. Remember, it finished Norwich City 2, Olympiacos 0, and that will obviously be a positive for Norwich fans, because they come here today thinking, well, look, it's a pre-season friendly, but I want to see the boys, want to see them get a win, and goals as well. We were joking about it before the game. Goals have been a premium here at Carrow Road in recent months. Nice to see a couple go in for Norwich today. And also, Joe is going to be taking you home with this show. He's going to be presenting the last part of the programme. He's put out a tweet. If you look on my Twitter, at Bob Rutler, or on Joe's Twitter. I've retweeted it. He's put out what he thinks should be the 11 that should start against Hull City next week, and we want to know whether you agree or disagree with that. He's put Johnny Rowan and Fasnacht as well, so both those players in his starting lineup. Gunn in goal, I spotted as well, but I'll let you look at that on Twitter and get in touch. We've already had lots of replies to that, so use hashtag Canary Call for this one. So it's a bit of a gentle Canary Call today. No calls on, but we will take some social media from you if you want to tell us what you think about the starting lineup for next week. So we're going to hear the goals now. If you missed them, a couple of goals that Chris Gorham described, and then you will hear from Joe Dean with the fans, and then I'm going to head down and speak to some more fans and leave you in the capable hands of Joe Dean.
They were queuing up there. McLean from distance, deflection! Yeah. Swarms in! Norwich City have the lead in their final pre-season friendly. They had a glorious chance before that they couldn't quite turn in, and then Kenny McLean let fly from about 25 yards. It took a wicked deflection, and the goalkeeper, Zalakis, very nearly got to it. He got a good hand on it, but he couldn't quite keep it from crossing the line. And it's Norwich City 1, Olympiacos 0. Sarah flips the free kick in from the left-hand side. Duffy challenges the goalkeeper, looping header, Sargent turns it in! Norwich City have a second goal, and it's come from a set piece. And it was Shane Duffy who went up from the back, who won the first header, a towering header. It looped over the goalkeeper, it dropped into the 6-yard box. It may have had enough to cross the line, but Sargent made sure. It's Norwich 2, Olympiacos 0.
The home of the Canaries.
BBC Radio Norfolk.
It's full time then. Norwich City have beaten Olympiacos 2-0 in their final pre-season friendly before the real stuff gets going. Just in front of the Barclay, who've just been giving the away fans plenty of stick. Okay, who have we got here in the fans?
Harry Hudson,
Harvey Goodwin,
Joe Allison,
Connor Murray-Sai.
And what did you make?
Louis Gauntlet.
Plenty here. Everyone wants to have a say. What do we make of it then? Are we excited ahead of the next season?
We're going to win the league, obviously, because unbeaten in pre-season, absolutely amazing. Obviously, the play of football that we're playing at the moment, absolutely amazing. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Who was the best player out there? Who are you most impressed with? Sargent, yeah, you reckon he's going to be able to get the goals? No Pookie this season, of course.
Yeah. Yes, lad. Yeah, definitely.
Miss Pookie though.
Do miss Pookie. Yeah. I mean, I've been hearing, just sitting there, some of the stuff we're not going to be able to say on radio, what's been chanting between you guys and the Olympiacos fans, but it's pre-season for you lot as well. You need to get in the mood.
We've got just the passion for the club is amazing.
We wanted it more. They were rattled, they were. Rattled.
Absolutely. So next week, are we all going to be here as well for Hull City?
Absolutely.
Season ticket holders. And we're going to start with a win?
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, I'll move a bit along. Thanks very much, guys. Got a Scottish flag here. Want to speak to Radio Norfolk? Yeah. What do you make of it? You got your Scottish flag. Impressed with the likes of Kenny McLean?
Yeah. If Hanley was here, it'd been 5-0.
Hanley been here 5-0. We've got a bit of a wait before we get to see him. But are we feeling good about the new season? We didn't finish well last year, but are we feeling good?
I think it's going well. Pre-season friendlies have gone well, haven't they? So all we can hope is for the season to go well now.
And plenty of chanting between the Barclay and the Olympiacos fans. So the fans in good form going to good in the new season as well.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good atmosphere today. It'll be even better next season when the stadium's full as well.
It was a good chat with some of those guys. I'll just have a bit of a wander further behind, getting towards the behind the goal, and some of the players come over and applaud. We've got Shane Duffy, Kellen Fisher among them. Anyone want to speak to Radio Norfolk? You want to speak to Radio Norfolk? Yeah. Want to speak to Radio Norfolk?
Yeah, can do.
What do you make of it as last chance to see Norwich before the league season starts? Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I reckon it's a good little start. Couple of nice goals. Don't know whether the Lino's seeing actual offsides, but a couple of nice finishes in there.
Yeah, it was John Rowe and Josh Sargent who got denied by that. Sargent did get his goal. A few of the lads down there were very impressed with him. We thought it was good.
Yeah, it was great, can't lie. I mean, the other one, definitely a great shot. It's just unlucky the Lino saw other stuff, but it's all good. Good start. It's good pre-season.
Who else impressed you out there? Because there was a few new faces, a few of the new signings, a few younger players as well.
Yeah, I thought Duffy looked very solid. Big man at the back. Him and Gibbo together seemed pretty solid. And Gabriel Sarah, you can never go wrong. He's always good.
And we saw Omar Deli come on in the second half. Who would you go over that centre-back pairing? Because that's going to be one of the things I think Norwich fans are going to be sort of debating over the next few days.
It's not an easy one for Wagner. I'd probably go Duffy and Gibson to start with, but having Andy as a third option is never a bad thing.
Nice and reliable, always a good thing.
Yeah, plenty of experience there, and I mean, yeah, as you said, last season didn't go well, and a lot of fans were a bit miserable at the start of the summer. But I think that excitement's building again. We can't wait for that game against Hull next Saturday.
Oh, definitely. Try and get off to a positive start. Try and at least get playoffs, I reckon.
Yeah, do you reckon going up this year?
You've got to firm it. I've got to believe. I believe in it. So
Absolutely, we've got to believe. I'll just find a few more people to chat with. Anyone want to speak to Radio Norfolk? We've got some fans going here. Onel, of course, always popular. A few people shouting for Andrew Bamadelli as well. Got a few fans here. Does anybody want to speak to BBC Radio Norfolk? Would anybody want to speak? We're waiting to get Onel Hernandez to come and sign some autographs. Do we think he played well today?
Yeah, I think they played really good. I'm really impressed with them. I just think they've done good.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited for the new season as well.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Are we going to be here next week, or is this just a bit of a treat?
Yeah, it's just a bit of a treat.
A bit of a treat, fantastic. Well, have you enjoyed yourselves?
Yeah.
Definitely, okay. We'll hopefully see lots of these faces back. We've got Onel Hernandez taking photos with his fans, doing what he absolutely loves. I might see him in the starting 11 next week. Would you like to see him? We'd like to see one of the other wide options. We've got John Rowe came on and impressed as well. Make sure you get in touch. #CanaryCall on Twitter. And if you want to give us a call, we'll take it. We'll see what you've got to say. Maybe we'll get you on as well. Back to you in the gantry, Rob. Yeah, well, it's not Rob in the gantry, it's actually me. I forgot that Rob was going to be shooting off downstairs to speak to some fans as well. He's got a wrestling event to get to this evening, so he wanted to get away. So it's me taking you through to 6 o'clock here on BBC Radio Norfolk after Norwich City beaten Olympiacos 2-0 in their final pre-season friendly. Before that stuff, the proper league stuff, the Championship gets going next Saturday. Hull City, the opponents here at Carrow Road. 3 o'clock kick-off then. Of course, we'll have full live commentary of that. But just to talk about this game as well, we were a few clues, Cootie, about who we're going to start and maybe see next week. Starting 11 is probably what Wagner had in mind going into next week. Would you say they did enough to keep their places?
I think the majority of them did. If that 11 that he started with today is indeed going to be his idea of his best 11, but then Jonathan Rowe comes on. I feel he puts in a really positive half. Like Rob and Chris were saying after the game, there's a lot more factors into it. That you've got the other pre-season games. We're not privy to what the manager sees in training and stuff like that. So you would assume that the starting 11 would be his idea for his starting 11 for next week against Hull. But I would say that after today, maybe Jonathan Rowe has thrown a little spanner in the works and just given him something to think about. And like we were saying, when all the changes were made, that's all them players that coming on can do, is just try and put themselves in contention for a starting place. And I guess my only, I wouldn't say it's a disappointment, it would have been nice to have seen 2 or 3 players giving the manager a headache rather than just the one, because I think that that healthy competition and having that kind of healthy headache is good for Norwich in terms of their squad depth and stuff. But it'll be interesting to see come next Saturday what he does do. We saw a new formation today, not a new formation to football, but not a way that Norwich have played before. 4-4-2 seemed to work quite well with Ashley Barnes and Sargent up front, but who knows what the manager's thinking.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, John Rowe was one that definitely impressed me. And you look at the starting lineup today, very, very experienced in the bench. A lot of young players there who came on, had a chance to prove themselves, and yeah, Rowe probably was the one that did that. You've got Hernandez and Fastnacht who started on the wings. Both had moments, but neither of them really made you think that's a player that's going to be a big part this season. Whereas John Rowe did seem to have that energy, have that ability to get the crowd off their feet. So maybe he is the one. Another big decision he's going to have is at centre back, because we've got Ben Gibson and Shane Duffy who started. Again, very experienced. They've know the Championship inside out. Andrew Bamadelli came on in the second half, and he's a player that's been linked with the move away. He apparently turned down big money offers for him in January from some top European clubs, but it looks like at the moment Wagner prefers Gibson and Duffy there.
Yeah, based on that that he started him. I don't know. Neither for me set the world alight today. I'm not saying that Gibson had a particularly bad game, but I wouldn't say he was brilliant either. So I don't know whether he's done enough to lose or keep a place. And again, Bamidele came on, didn't really have a huge amount to do. I wouldn't say that he was brilliant, but equally I wouldn't say that he was poor. He made that one big error within sort of 30 seconds of coming on. I don't think Ben Gibson's done enough to lose his place. I don't think Bamidele has done enough to take it off of him. So if he does slightly favour Gibson ahead of Bamidele based on how he lined up today, then I think that will probably still stand for next Saturday. But no question that Bamidele's got the potential to be a good defender.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to let us know what you think about the centre-back situation, about the wide situation as well. We said John Rowe impressed. And whether you think we need some more faces in. I know a lot of people want to see defensive midfielder. Kenny McLean's been playing that role today. We didn't see Jakob Sorensen today, so those are the two players that will be candidates to start there. Just let us know, #CanaryCall on Twitter, and give us your starting lineup as well for next week when we start the season against Hull. Now, Rob Butler, as I said, was popping down to try and find some fans to speak to, and I think he's found some. Rob, whereabouts are you?
Yeah, I'm outside the brand new Lion and Castle, which is the new bar here at Carrow Road, and I've got a couple of great fans with me who are well known to us here on BBC Radio Norfolk. But I can see Michael Wynne-Jones having a chat. He's got a fag on the go, and he's having a chat with some of the lads who, let's be honest, have had a couple of beers this afternoon, and good luck to them. They're having a great time. So let's say hello to Anna and George, who's our expert panel this evening for this pre-season friendly. We thought we'd come out and do something a little bit different. George, you're well known for being the retro shirts man. Just describe the one you've got on.
Today is 1999-2001 with the green stripe down the side. I try to think of what player it reminds me of. In the first place,
Bellamy.
Bellamy, I like that. For me, for some reason, Jean-V Di Blasi. That's a player from the past. For some reason, that was the first one that came to my mind. So, yeah, that's today's shirt.
Yeah, it's a lovely one. I've still got that in the cupboard at home. And we've got the brilliant Anna Say here as well. Great to have you, Anna. You've got the brand new away shirt on.
Yes, absolutely. I've got to give a shout out to my granddad who bought it for me. I do prefer the away one over the home one. Home one's a bit 50-50 for me.
Well, because it's the pre-season, we can probably talk about shirts, and we'll get onto the game in just a minute. But we can look. Then two nice old ladies over there. I shouldn't say old. I shouldn't. They couldn't hear me. But they're walking away. One of them's got the last year's shirt on. And George, you're the shirt expert. That was a particularly nice one, wasn't it? What do you make of this year's sort of, well, dare I say, Celtic sort of number?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely hoops, isn't it? It's more hoops, if anything. It reminds me of Tampa Bay Rowdies, personally. We've never had a shirt like it. Dad and I were chatting before the game, like they've got to change it up sometimes. The problem is it was always going to be a downgrade from last year's, because last year's was one of the best shirts we've had in recent years. So it will probably take getting used to, but if we play well in it, you're going to like the shirt. So let's hope we can play well in it, and then it will be a fan's favourite, I'm sure.
And the price they are these days, Anna, I'm sure only Grandad could afford one, and that's the away one. Is that the one you specified, or was it just a surprise?
Well, I was quite happy with when the away one came out, and I was talking to him about it. He was like, "Oh, do you want that? I'll get it for you."
Good old Grandad.
Yeah, good old Grandad. What are grandparents for if not getting you a new away shirt?
Absolutely. Right, well, let's talk about the game. I was pretty impressed, actually. We'll get Joe Dean involved as well in a few minutes, because he was watching with us. He's spoken to some of the fans. I was actually impressed. I thought Norwich did well. I mean, there's always the heart in the mouth moment when they're trying to play it out from the back, and the centre-halves are taking the goal kicks and getting Gunny involved. But we had that under Farker, and on the large part, it worked. What did you make of it today, Anna?
I wasn't too thrilled with the first half. I felt like we were seeing a lot of the same problems from last season, i.e. messing around at the back, lots of backward passing, lots of passing to the goalkeeper, lots of short passes from the goalkeeper, and we were basically inviting the pressure. And I mean, I don't think Gunn had a particularly good first half. We saw a couple of hairy moments where he quite literally waited until the player was directly in front of him before he tried to get the ball away. However, going into the second half, I felt like it was switched up a bit. It was a little bit slower, but I felt like it was more structured. It felt like there was more of a plan, more patient build-up, and I absolutely loved the goal that I saw from them in the second half, because it felt like something we wouldn't necessarily have gone for last season. It was a ball that we didn't give up on, even though the goalkeeper was going for it, and we came out the better with that.
Absolutely. George, do you echo those thoughts? I mean, I've been coming to this place a long time. I know you have as well, and so's Anna, and we can't, and your dad, who won't speak to us, by the way, but he's been coming even longer, bless him. I mean, you can't get too carried away with pre-season friendlies, but actually take it, in isolation, that was a good performance against what are going to be a good side this season.
So it's pre-season, you're right, you can't get overexcited by pre-season, but we're undefeated on pre-season. We've played against top teams, second division German teams who were good games, they were competitive games. Toulouse, French division, top division, Alkmaar, top Dutch division, and you're right, Olympiacos, Europa League. We haven't lost. We haven't lost to teams like Stevenage and Cambridge. Maybe some other teams in our division have done that. But we haven't. We're undefeated. So let's take the energy of this, hopefully this confidence the players can take, that they've had competitive games, and let's start the season strong.
Now, Joe, the guys can't hear you down here, but have you had any more reaction to your starting 11 for next Saturday? Because that's obviously an important talking point. We'll get George and Anna to give their say, but what's the reaction been like?
Largely positive, which is always good when you post something like that on social media, when you're posting your opinions. Simon Wilson makes an interesting point. Should Aaron start if available? Well, we're expecting him to leave this summer, but I've been impressed with Jack Stacey, certainly at right back. But yeah, if Max Aarons doesn't go, which would be a bit of a surprise, then I guess we've got to find a role for him as well. A few more responses, a lot of positive things for John Rowe. Everyone impressed with him coming on. Craig Trudgill says he'd rather have Gibson in for Omobama Delhi. That's a big one as well. Omobama Delhi linked with that big money move away, but he seems to be staying around. But Wagner seems to prefer Gibson and Duffy at the moment. The back seven picks themselves, says badly drawn Lion / Paul. He likes the 4-4-2. He'd go with Rowe, Nunez, Fastnacht and Sarge as the front four, so a few changes there. Nunez, he came off the bench. He did all right. Didn't really make too many headlines when he came on. Daniel DeFalco says, give Johnny Rowe a go instead of Hernandez. What I would like about that is Hernandez has always, I think, been better coming off the bench. Peter Lawrence says, Rowe looks good, has been class today. He says that goal was onside. Now, we had Darren Cann running the line. I think he's done a World Cup final, so it'd be interesting to see have a look back at that. So see if it was a World Cup final linesman getting that wrong, denying John Rowe a goal. But Positive. John Rowe, I think, is the main one that came out of today. Just you got George with you, and it's good to hear that his dad did get back safely from the pre-season tour on his bike.
Yeah, well, we'll ask him about that. Dad won't talk to us, but George can tell us the story. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Back with you in just a minute. So come on then, guys. I mean, you didn't hear that, but the general consensus is that Johnny Rowe should perhaps be involved next Saturday. What do you make? Did he play his way into the team? What do you make of that?
Johnny Rowe definitely this season will be a breakout star in my personal opinion, but I don't know if it's off starting the 11. If you got O'Neill's a fantastic player off the bench, we know that, but he does give us a lot of energy. And Faushnak's the new guy, he's getting a lot of hype. Obviously he didn't shine today, but it's pre-season, etc, etc. But listening to reports of how he's played, the stats that he was getting at Young Boys, I think they'll be our main two wingers. I definitely would like to see Rowe come off the bench and get a lot more time and try and break his way into the lineup. I think we will see. I think he'll be the breakout star this year.
Anna, what do you make of that? I mean, I got a chance to speak to Johnny at Kings Lynn, and I've interviewed him a few times actually. He's a really impressive young man. He's got such a good head on his shoulders, and obviously he's been really frustrated with his injuries. And you kind of want a player like that to do well, because he's one of our own.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed with him in this game when he came on. I thought his pace was very, very good, which is something that we've maybe been lacking a little bit of, and it looked like he had some really good ideas in terms of kind of cutting in, getting the balls in, getting involved in the game. I can see him being on bench, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was in the starting 11.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He did well today, but we shall see. There's a lad walking past there with a Man United kit on. What's going on there, George? Come on. Luckily, there's some balance behind him. There's some 3 Norwich City kits behind him. But yeah, we won't embarrass him. But he has got a Manchester United shirt on. It's quite nice, their new shirt, actually. George, what's your official view?
No, not for me.
No, okay, fair enough. Nothing Man U. Yeah, we are outside the Lion and Castle here, which is the brand new bar at Norwich City here at Carrow Road. I'm looking forward to actually popping in there next week before the whole game to get a bit of the atmosphere, but we shall see. A couple of other questions for you guys. The head coach has said that unless there's more outgoings, and there might be, Milot Rashica, Max Aarons both not involved today, then that's it for Norwich's transfer business, George. Is that the right decision?
Yes, if we can keep Omobamidele, if he's obviously the other one linked. Rashika, he was obviously out there training in Austria, but we didn't see him today. Maybe he probably won't. Max has been linked, so many different links now. I think Max is going to go. It's a bit of a shame just because we never got to say that goodbye to one of our own. So, but you want to see one of your own shine, and hopefully he gets a bigger move and he can do that. But yeah, I'm happy. You see lots on Twitter, and I spoke about it the other week, that we need a defensive mid. We've got Kenny McLean. Kenny McLean is going to be our captain this year. I don't think it's been officially announced yet, but he's been club captain. He's been all through pre-season. I think he's absolutely class. He can claim that goal if he wants. Earlier there was a heck of a deflection, but still. And I think he is really controlling the team, and he's an old head, and that's kind of what I'm really excited about this year. We've signed Duffy, we've signed Barnes, we've got McLean, we're getting those kind of... Fashnut is 29, I believe, so you're getting a lot of experience. Mould that with our youth that we've already got. I'm happy with the squad.
Yeah, Anna, you're not afraid of a strong opinion. There's lots of Norwich fans saying, hang on a minute here. Now, we need a central defensive midfielder, but Kenny's doing a fairly good job in that quarterback role. We perhaps need another striker. Well, Fasnacht has come in there and can break from kind of the wing positions. Do you think Norwich are still lacking a couple?
The way I see it with the transfer window, I don't think you're never going to have a transfer window that makes every single fan happy. I mean, like you said, I've seen people say about defensive midfield, I've seen people say about centre-backs, about strikers. I personally am still a little bit worried about our strike force, but at the end of the day, we're getting to the point now where you've just got to put those worries aside. We're going into the season next week. You just got to get behind the team and get behind the team that we have. We might get a couple more in. I mean, Rashika, it doesn't seem like he wants to be here, so it would not be surprising if he left. Aaron should I say, Webber already told us that he talked to him and told him that it was time for him to move on, so it wouldn't be surprising to see him go. So there's still probably room to get a couple more in, but like I said, season starts next week. We've just got to get behind them and push whatever worries we have aside, because like I said, no transfer window is going to make everybody completely happy.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great to talk to you two. Just before we head back to Joe, who's got plenty more still to come, including reaction from today's game, the 2-0 win for Norwich against Olympiacos. George, just tell us about your dad on his bike, because he's a bit shy, so he's shaking his head, but he can't stop us talking about it. This is quite a story.
Yeah, it's quite a story. We joked, actually. I said to Dad, "Do you want to be on the radio?" And he said he was on Radio Norfolk in 1982 when he was fan of the year, and that's him done. So he's done his time. No, we went over to Germany for pre-season, a father and son trip. I bought a return ticket, and Dad bought a single ticket, and he decided to cycle home. So Dad cycled from Frankfurt to Frankfurt, which is a small village just outside North Walsham, near Slowley, and it was 476 miles. He did 80 miles a night, took his tent. He's in his 60s now. I'm sorry to tell everyone that, Dad, but he is acting like an 18-year-old going backpacking, and I absolutely love it. So really, really impressive. Got to go watch Norwich play, and then he just cycled home. Doesn't speak a word of German, doesn't speak a word of Dutch, but he made it home for Sunday dinner a week later. So
that is incredible.
Yeah, no,
you must be so proud of him.
Of course I am. Whatever he wants to do in his spare time now, he's took me loads of places, usually all football based. So now if he wants to go on his bike and enjoy himself, there was still football involved, obviously. But super proud of him always.
Brilliant stuff. Well done, Dad. What a guy. And Anna, this is quite a big day for you, because lots of people will know, and we've spoken about it before with you on the radio, that you've been poorly recently, and I know you're still going through treatments and what have you, but your chance, because you've been living down in Essex for a while, haven't you, with Mum, but you're back here in Norfolk today, and this has been special because you got back to Carrow Road.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been quite a while. Last time I was at Carrow Road, it was not the best day for me, because it was in April, and actually it was a day that I ended up in hospital, and it started the whole kind of circle of finding out that I had cancer again. So coming back and making a bit nicer memories, it's been really nice. I hadn't been back in Norwich for 3 months, and just coming back here, it's given me such a lift, and just before my further treatment starts, so I needed this boost, and I've missed Norwich so much, and it's so nice to be here, and it's always nice being at Carrow Road, because it feels so familiar, and it always just feels like coming home, and always cheers me up, whatever the score. I love being here.
Anna, brilliant stuff. We wish you all the very best. You're very much part of our coverage here on BBC Radio Norfolk, so we'll be catching up with you soon, and George as well, of course. And just a little reminder for you, Diane Blazer's been in contact and told me that of course there's the Norwich City Fan Social Club Family Fun Day tomorrow at the Nest, 11 o'clock to 3 p.m. She says lots for kids to do, including challenge wood, zip wire, inflatable, not inflatable ice cream, just inflatables and ice cream, I assume. But barbecue, table tennis, volleyball, and this is brilliant. Diane Blazier, absolutely brilliant. She's booked Spider-Man as a guest. I mean, you know, I don't know which one. When I last saw the film, there's about 4 of them. But yeah, Spider-Man is going to be at the Fan Social Club Family Fun Day tomorrow, so that should be cracking. And Diane tells me that the weather is going to hold out as well tomorrow. Let's hope it holds out for England in the Ashes as well. George and Anna, great to have you with us. They will be very much part of our coverage going forward here on BBC Radio Norfolk, because we love hearing from the fans. And I'm just looking through under the big screen, Joe, and I can just about see your little head peeping over. There you are. So I'm going to hand back to you now. There he is waving. Look, bless him. He can see me. Right, back to you, Joe, up there in the gantry.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Rob. Yeah, just had a little wave here behind the screen as some papers went flying off, because it is very breezy up here in the gantry. I'm just having a look over to the benches where plenty of the players are still out there. A few are on the old exercise bikes, making sure their muscles are still nice and warm, because we don't want any injuries at the start of the new season, which gets underway next week. Rob Butler, of course, will be with you with the Canary Call between 5 and 6 o'clock after every game, where you can have your say. And what sort of season are we going to have? Is it going to be another one like last season, that sort of disappointment, or maybe a bit more exciting, pushing up towards the top 6? It was a good last run out for them today. 2-0 win over Olympiacos. You'll be playing in the Europa League, so no mugs at all. So 2-0 win, goals from Kenny McLean. If it goes down as his, there's a big deflection, and Josh Sargent there. So yeah, thanks very much. Adrian Coote has left me. He's got to get away, but he will be back, I'm sure, throughout the season as well, with Rob Butler taking your Canary Calls and on the co-commentaries as well. So we look forward to hearing from Coote and all those guest summarisers that we'll have throughout the season. Now it's just gone 5:30, so we'll bring you the classified scores, because the local football season got underway. We'll start with Kingsland Town. They had their final friendly before their National League North season gets underway. Again, next Saturday they're at home to Hereford. So if you don't fancy coming over to Norwich, or you can't get a ticket, there's plenty of football on offer. They drew 0-0 with Corby at the Walks. So a bit of a disappointing result against lower league opposition, but just minutes in the legs. There's plenty of trialists in that starting lineup as well. Of course, the Thurlow Nunn Premier Division, which started today. Dereham Town 2, Brantham Athletic 0. Derham's first game back at that level after relegation last year. Hadley United 1, Downham Town 2. A great win for Downham after they were promoted from the First Division North last season. Great start for them in Suffolk. Harleston Town 5, Sohan Town Rangers 1, Long Melford 3, Sheringham 4. Cracking game there. Good win for Sheringham. Well, Barton Wanderers 0, Thetford Town 1. Thetford Town so close to promotion last season. They've got to a good start this time around. Norwich United 1, Ely City 2. A disappointing result for Norwich United under their new management. And Woodbridge Town 1, Heacham 0 in the Thurlow Nunn First Division. In the First Division North, AFC Sudbury Reserves 9, Distown 0. Something tells me that might not have been AF Sudbury's actual reserves. Of course, their league season probably hasn't started yet, so maybe a run out for the first team. FC Peterborough 1, Great Yarmouth Town 2. A great start for Great Yarmouth Town. Haverhill Borough 0, Swaffham Town 2, and Norwich CBS 0, Stanway Pegasus 0. We'll hopefully bring you some reaction from some of those games later this hour as well. But we might actually head down to the touchline. Chris Gorham wasn't on any of those exercise bikes that the players were on, but he has been speaking to one of the goal scorers from today, the man who wore number 9, Josh Sargent.
Let's talk to Josh Sargent. Josh, that's pre-season done as far as the friendlies are concerned. Is that a good place to be?
Yeah, I think it's been busy. All the guys were happy to be back after traveling so much, but it was a good preseason for everybody. I think we gained a lot of confidence and definitely picked up more on our style of play and how we want to play, and I think that was evident today.
Give us an impression of what it's been like in terms of fitness, because I've heard David Wagner talking about wanting you to be the fittest team in the championship. Has he worked you hard?
Yeah. I mean, even the off season, we had our programs and it was very detailed on how much he wanted us doing, and I think based on our results from our running test, we all came back even fitter than we were at the end of the season actually. So everybody's feeling good. I think with our style of play, we have to be that fit, and I think a lot of guys are feeling good.
But there's no hiding place these days, is there? With all of the data, if you've not done your work over the summer, they'll know.
No, 100%. They'll know. So everybody made sure they did it.
You've come through pre-season unbeaten. I know results aren't what it's all about, but that's a good thing, isn't it, still?
Right, yeah. I think Wagner even said it in an interview, it's not always about results, but if you can add that to the game, obviously, it just gives you that much more confidence going into the season.
In terms of performance, style of play, what do you think is going to be different about this Norwich City compared to what we saw last season?
I think you're going to find that there won't be guys hiding from the ball. Everybody's asking for the ball. We want to, dominate possession, be calm on the ball, and break teams down. And I think, we've worked on it a lot in the preseason. I think guys are getting more comfortable with getting into those pockets, turning and combining. And I think there's a lot to look forward to for this season.
It was fun watching the Barnes-Sargent combination today. Mm-hmm. You've got a smile on your face. If that is the way Norwich are going to go, there's going to be some Championship central defenders who are going to know they've been in a game this season, isn't there?
Yeah, I enjoy playing with Barnesy. We had a good relationship from the very beginning. And I think whether it's me, Adam or Barnesy up top, I think it's three, very good strikers that will cause problems.
You don't see many teams play with that, for want of a better phrase, old-fashioned strike partnership. But do you think you've now got the personnel to do that here?
Yeah, I think we do. I think, like I said, I think you could see it in the preseason, slowly building, and I think it'll just get better and better.
And because maybe you're a man light in midfield as a result, both of you are prepared to get back and do the ugly stuff there as well, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a part of the gig. We're not able to just sit up top and kind of forget about defending here. So, we're fit and we're ready to defend if we have to.
Yeah, and actually Barnes certainly today, the amount of free kicks he wins for the team, the way he takes the pressure off, that is going to be such an asset.
Yeah, of course. He's a very good player and can hold up the ball really well for us, if we need that outlet.
And today, certainly, I don't know whether this is the way it's going to go, but even got number 9 on your back, squad number 9, the centre forward. That's what you've always wanted to be since you came here, isn't it?
Yeah. I think after last season scoring a few goals, I think I'm ready to play that number 9 role, and it's what I love to do. And hopefully there's a lot of goals to come.
Yeah, I mean, from a career point of view, you had your best return in terms of goals last season, didn't you? I think you got 13.
Right, yeah.
So that is something to build on and kick on from, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was really my first season. Even though I didn't play the whole season as a striker, it was really my first season being a professional, being able to play striker, for a big part of this season. So I think that just proves that that's where, I'm the most comfortable, and that's where I feel like I can be, the most use. Yeah.
And you've got a manager who looks like he's going to play you there as well, and that confidence-wise, that makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think right when he came in, he said, "You're a striker, you'll be playing striker." So obviously that helps my confidence, knowing that I will be striker and not questioning, are they going to move me out wide or whatnot. So, yeah.
And you had the World Cup during last season as well, and I thought that added a really interesting dimension, didn't it? Because in any other sport, if you've got an athlete who's got an Olympic year, everybody accepts that that's what they peak for, and that's the big thing that they're preparing for. Right. But for a footballer, if you're playing in the World Cup, that's great, but everyone expects you still to do it week in, week out for a club as well. It's a different dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really strange having it in the middle of the season as well. I didn't really think about it too much, but I've talked to a couple people about it, and it was strange, you build. It's what you always want to do as a footballer, go to the World Cup, and then all of a sudden the next week you're playing Swansea away, I think it was, and you're kind of like, gee, I'm already back here, what just happened? So it was really kind of harder than I thought it would be to kind of get back into the groove of things. I had an injury in the World Cup as well, so that kind of just lingered on for a bit, which was annoying, and it wasn't really till the end of the season where I got fully fit again, so it was a bit frustrating, but I'm in a good place now, and feeling very excited for this season.
Yeah, Norwich City's striker Josh Sargent there, very excited for the season, speaking to Chris Gorham. He got a goal today. A lot of people will be hoping that he can be the man to get the goals for Norwich this season. After Timu Pukki left last year, I think Josh Sargent was actually Norwich's top scorer. Hopefully he can kick on and get those goals needed to make sure Norwich get a nice high finish up in the table. We'll hopefully hear from David Wagner as well, the head coach, before 6 o'clock. We'll now hear from the head coach David Wagner after Norwich City's 2-0 win here at Carrow Road against Olympiacos, their last pre-season friendly. It's the last chance for David Wagner to have a proper look at his players ahead of that season opener against Hull next week, and David Wagner has been speaking to Chris Gorham.
David Wagner, that's the end of the pre-season matches. How close is the squad to where you wanted it to be?
What should I now say? I think we were able to see that we worked on a lot of things, but after pre-season is never the end. So we still have a lot of work to do, and this is what we will do. which includes obviously then the matches in the championship and then the cups and obviously training sessions as well.
The front two, let's talk about that. Sargent and Barnes today, they work so hard, don't they? We've just spoken to Josh Sargent. The amount of effort they put in, not just up front, but covering back into midfield as well. Does that set the standard? Is that what you're asking of this squad now?
Absolutely, and this is one of the big reasons why we look so solid defensively now over more or less the whole pre-season, because they really take this on board and they really do what we ask them to do. Obviously, Duff in the back and Kenny in midfield helps us as well, but these two guys play a major part that we defensively give so less chances away and we look so solid. And obviously, offensively, we can score. We can score from the distance, like today, from set pieces, from the counter as well. I feared at least one of the two goals which we today scored, were maybe not offside. It was very tight. I think, as I said, we have work to do, but you were able to see some of our offensive pattern as well, how we like to play out from the back, how we like to attack. But it is anything but perfect. We have a lot of work to do, and this is what we will do. But how far we came so far and how the preseason in general was, it was a good preseason. I don't have to lie. It was a good preseason so far, but we have some further work to do.
Yeah, in terms of that defensive solidity, trying to make it a team that's more difficult to play against, is that the thing you are most pleased with at the moment?
Yeah, obviously I love if we would win 6-7-0 every game, but this is not football. I think we started immediately from day one of pre-season to work on both parts, defensively and offensively. Defensively, it looked very, very good over the majority of the pre-season. They are very focused, very concentrated, and they have a real atmosphere of hunger and desire to defend. And obviously, and offensively, we I think today as well, we had some moments where we played out from the back and played very good football, maybe without the final pass. But this will come, so we have to work. And the good thing is, if you are defensively very, very solid, 1 or 2 goals are enough to win football matches. And at the end of the day, it's all about winning. Even if in pre-season I said this result is not the most important thing, everybody likes to win rather than to lose in pre-season. But the performance which I've seen and the focus and the concentration of the players in this pre-season match gives me the real hunger to look forward to the Saturday game.
I know we'd rather talk about the players that were there, but just a couple on players that weren't. Max Aarons, Milot Rashica, they've not played for you in pre-season. They weren't involved today. Does that mean we can rule them out for the first game of the season?
Yeah, for the first game of the season, they will not be involved for sure. So they are now in training for a week. Have done a lot of things with us, but they have to catch up some fitness, so they will not be involved on Saturday if everything goes to plan. To be fair, nobody knows what happens in football. Luckily today no further injuries, but we will work with them. We will make them as fit as possible, and in the right moment, when it's time, we will use them.
Injury-wise, there was no Sorensen today. Christos Jolis wasn't involved either. Is there anything wrong with either of those two players?
Yeah, Lungi had again some groin issues after the Toulouse games, which limited him as well against Alkmaar. And luckily he had some further investigations yesterday in London. It isn't as bad, so we hope that he will be back in training end of next week. Unfortunately, he missed now, or he only played 40-50 minutes in the last 3 pre-season games. But if he is back in training next week, it is not too bad. And Christos, I wanted to give him 90 minutes because I wanted that every player after this pre-season has 80 or 90 minutes in his legs. Unfortunately, I was not able to give them the minutes today. This is why he played in the under-21 against Brighton today, to get the minutes in his legs.
And just to finish with, I'm not going to follow it up by asking you to tell us more, but do you know your starting 11 next week?
No, I can't know it because I don't know who is available. So, but I think we have seen today we have different options on different positions. But as exciting as the first game of the season is, the starting 11 of the first game of the season will not be the starting 11 for the next 46 games in the championship. So it's good to have options. It's good that everybody's on it. I think you have seen this today with the subs which we made as well. And it's great to have a group together who is so fit, to be fair, and have such a good spirit and such a good atmosphere which they created over the preseason.
That's head coach David Wagner speaking to Chris Gorham earlier there, not giving anything away in terms of starting 11 next week. We put that tweet out earlier with what I think the starting 11 should be. It was quite similar to today. I would have had Omar Bamadeli ahead of Ben Gibson and maybe John Rowe instead of Onel Hernandez. I've got Chris Gorham here with me now. I don't know what you think. John Rowe seemed to impress when he came on, but David Wagner maybe preferring Onel. He was very popular towards the end of the season.
He did, yes, and Rowe actually came on for Fastnack, didn't he? So that's the other thing. So you've got three wingers there, you would say, bidding for two places. I think it was really interesting he made the other change you're talking about at half-time, where Duffy got the longest time of the centre-backs. At half-time he swapped Gibson and Omar Bamadeli, and I would say that is another area of the pitch where I haven't fully made my mind up, and I wonder whether David Wagner has. But in terms of where the team is, he's talking about being very pleased with how solid they're looking. And I'm not talking about Norwich City being absolutely ready and looking like a perfect football team, but in terms of where they were at the end of last season compared to what we've seen today, I've seen some slight differences. I've seen a team that's more difficult to play against, that's got a bit more about it in terms of its character. Of course, they can do it against Olympiacos, that's great. They've now got to go and do it in the Championship, but I think there were I'm definitely prepared to take some encouragement from what was on offer there today.
It'll be interesting when the actual season starts. We're, as you can say, probably more attritional stuff than we're used to maybe under Daniel Farker a few years ago. We've had fans over the last couple of years complaining that they have been a soft touch. They need some more experience, need some proper Championship players. They've gone out and done that. The style of play might not be as attractive, it might not get you off your feet as much, and it'll be interesting to see if the results don't go so well, whether the fans will stick with them.
Yeah, it will all be dependent on results, won't it? But Norwich got a couple of goals here today. It's been so long since they've scored at Carrow Road. The end of last season was so poor. It was not an easy watch. You could see why fans were being sort of turned off from Norwich City altogether. So they're going to have to work hard, but I think the characters like Ashley Barnes, like Shane Duffy from what we saw today, John Rowe, the way he played, I think they are just the sort of characters that could become cult heroes, that supporters, win, lose or draw, will be applauding and knowing that they're going to leave nothing in the dressing room, absolutely give it all for the team, and that's what we want to see over this Championship season, because yes, you can play good football, but that's what the Championship demands.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, David Wagner maybe turning to experience. What does it give you for chance? Have your say, #Canary Call. We can keep the conversation going after we go off air at 6 o'clock, which is rapidly approaching. Chris Gorham, of course, will be with us throughout the season, doing commentary on every game of the Championship season, starting with Hull next week. And make sure you join us from 2 o'clock here on BBC Radio Norfolk. 3 o'clock kickoff as Norwich City begin their season, and they've prepared pretty well this afternoon.
They were queuing up there. McLean from distance, deflection! Yeah. Swarms in! Norwich City have the lead in their final pre-season friendly. They had a glorious chance before that they couldn't quite turn in, and then Kenny McLean let fly from about 25 yards. It took a wicked deflection, and the goalkeeper Zalakis very nearly got to it. He got a good hand on it, but he couldn't quite keep it from crossing the line, and it's Norwich City 1, Olympiacos 0. The free kick in from the left-hand side. Duffy challenges the goalkeeper, looping header, Sargent turns it in! Norwich City have a second goal, and it's come from a set piece. And it was Shane Duffy who went up from the back, who won the first header, a towering header. It looped over the goalkeeper, it dropped into the 6-yard box. It may have had enough to cross the line, but Sargent made sure. It's Norwich 2, Olympiacos 0.